already started. We're in.
Very, very nice.
Hello, everyone. Scar Gaming here. This is more Power Wash Simulator, or the Podwash Powercast. If the game will go ahead and show Power Wash Sim, because at the moment it's not. There we go. Thank you, Twitch. Now we can see it.
Thanks, Twitch. Very cool.
Very cool. So, on today's Podwash Powercast, we are going to be talking about tabletop games. If you're not familiar with what a tabletop game is, it is effectively just a game you play on the table. Dungeons and Dragons, Monopoly, Betrayal at House on the Hill, things like that. Those are all tabletop
Every
games.
board game.
Board games in general. Today I am joined with Crème. Say hi, Crème.
I am Crème.
I'm joined by
There's nothing
Jebus.
more to say.
Hello, I'm Jebus.
Jebusi. And who's not actually playing the game at the moment. She doesn't want to boot up her fridge. Samarra.
I'm broke and I can't afford a nice computer.
I thought you were about to say you were broken and you can't afford a fridge.
I was hoping she was. But, oh well.
Well, like
Alright,
everything
everybody, donate all your money so we can get Samarra a fridge.
Start donating. We need to get that fridge. So,
Yes, get me the fridge.
we are playing Power Wash Simulator. We're going to be talking about tabletop games. Everyone, let's go ahead and start the same thing last time. What is a bad tabletop game you guys played before?
I played this session called The Brothers in Arms. It was fucking awful.
Mind your language, and 2, go to hell.
Did you get that one of the people that's in this chat plays that game with you? Jeebus, you're not very
So-
good
Yeah.
at
I can't think of anything that's particularly awful off the top of my head, but I can definitely think of games that made me want to commit murder. That being if you've played enough of Ticket to Ride.
Oh no.
Okay, so I like the game, but oh my god, I cannot play that game for more than one
Am
sitting.
I wrong that it makes you want to commit murder?
No, it literally brings out the worst in people.
I never thought that a game about making long railroads across Europe would enrage me so much and make me grin as I become a greedy corporate guy. My train corporation. My 1800s train corporation dream can come true with that game. But yeah, that is another game. Any more you would like to say on that, Crumb?
Like I said, it's hard to think of any games I've personally played that were just downright bad. I can think of negative experiences with some games, but the games themselves, I cannot think of any off the top of my head that are particularly bad. Except maybe just how many versions of Monopoly they've made.
There's a lot of Monopoly.
I can appreciate, having Monopoly themed for things, but we've got way too many themed Monopolies, especially when there's ones that are like the same franchise, just getting it over and over again. There's like there's like 40 Star Wars Monopolies.
This is true.
Really? Okay.
Literally, there's one specifically for the Mandalorian. Then there's other, they have so many different Star Wars Monopolies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Oh god. I know there was multiple, but not 40.
I mean, I'm over-exaggerating for comedic effect, but there really is a lot.
Again, I really only knew about Star Wars, which kind of come on this prequel and original series.
All right, let's. I want to look up how many there are.
All right, you do that. Samarra, anything you got?
So I'm actually I'm gonna confess something here. So as
14.
wow, 14, holy shit.
That's way too
Um,
many.
Star Wars Monopoly.
I mean, holy crap, holy crap. But so for me, I actually have a confession to make. So I am cursed.
We already know
Any
that.
game. Well, no, you don't understand the curse. So I have never won a board game. So, any board game in existence makes me angry because I have never won a single board game. I've played checkers, I played chess, I played Monopoly, I've played A Ticket to Ride, I have played Risk, which, oh god, Risk was probably up there the worst. Like,
It is an
you get
experience.
oh god, and the worst part is like, so I come from a family of Germans, so whatever my mom plays, I feel like I'm playing a dictator against a dictator, and she, I don't know how, but her rolls are always perfect, and her luck is just on top of it. But yeah, so I would say any board game in existence because I've never won a single one, and even to this day, I've never won a single one, and everyone likes it, in my family likes to joke about it, and if anything, game nights were the worst because my family knew that I would be the first one out. And so instead, I would have to sit there and wait till the game would finish. So I would, 9 times out of 10, I would go grab like my DS or something or my phone and I'd play a game on there instead.
That sounds like it sucks. Also, I just got a comment here from Wisconsin here. My buddy Heavy asks, "Do you have a favorite version of Monopoly?"
Pokemon. The gold and silver Pokemon. It's my
That
If
sounds
I
favorite.
had to
awesome.
say out of the ones I have played, I would say The Simpsons Monopoly. But I also haven't
Donut.
played that many versions of Monopoly because we didn't buy that many of them when I was a kid.
Also, is it okay you say his name?
I don't think he cares.
Okay. Um, hi. I hope I can talk to you tomorrow.
So my favorite version of Monopoly is, regular Monopoly, which is a ploy against capitalism. Yeah, I've only actually played that one. I haven't actually played like Star Wars Monopoly or whatever. But yeah, a terrible board game that I can bring to mind would be. Actually, I don't have one. Every board game I played has always been kind of legit.
Hmm.
Just had to build up the tension.
Yeah.
But
I will say, any tabletop or like board game is bad on the premise of if you don't have enough players.
yeah, but
Mm.
I'm kind of more asking about the rules itself. The rules being confusing, not making sense, and things like that. Anything that can actually make the gaming experience, aside from any mishaps from the players themselves, just not fun. Ooh, I fell.
Good job.
Good job, me. That's more along the lines of what I'm asking. And I don't really have any experiences to speak of with that. Like I said, every board game I played has been legit somewhat.
Actually, no, I changed my mind. Some of these are technically tabletop games. Those like really, really bad ones that they make for kids.
Oh god.
Because those technically count as tabletop because you play them on a table.
You know what? You're right.
That doesn't count.
Like the
So,
ones where you just like feed a pig burgers and shit. Like those are just bad.
Oh.
They are
yeah,
just downright bad. They're just to
Okay,
make kids spend money.
there is one game though I think we can all agree that is like amazing, and you know what? I will die by this game because it's still one of
Hungry,
my
hungry
favorites.
hippos.
Hungry freaking hippos.
Oh
I
my
That game
never
is
That's
god.
why
played
I
Hungry
didn't
Hungry.
say that one in specific because Hungry Hippos is good.
I've
I
never
always
played
wanted
Hungry
to play
Hungry
that game,
Hippos.
dude.
I've also
wait,
never
Crab,
played
but you've never
Seals of
played it?
Bygone. That Heavy
I've
just
never
said.
even heard of that.
Neither have I. I just heard of it just now.
Oh my god, I'm so shocked you've never played Hungry Hippos.
I never got a Hungry Hungry
No,
Hippos thing
no,
as a kid.
we're
I was poor. I always wanted to
Oh,
play it.
oh,
wow.
I know I feel bad.
I don't feed
Sure.
them to the hippos.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
like I
You
will
you
watch
can put me in the
television and
same
start
boat.
crying because I always wanted that board
You
game.
can you can set me in the same group with Asus. I wanted it, but never
My
had
Oh.
it.
family was like,
That was one of
"No,
the few things I
go
was
back to the
able to
yard.
play
Waste
with
of
you.
money.
Oh my god.
So
Back to the yard, went back, and that's it."
yeah, now let's go ahead and say what board games we absolutely love. Starting off with Mr. Jebus Man.
It's always me.
Oh,
Mm, love, 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 love.
so we might be getting Javi to join us soon, as he's on his way home finally.
It hurts my brain. I'm
As
thinking,
long as he doesn't start doing dishes.
He
Oh yeah,
probably
don't
will.
let me forget.
I can't. You know what? Skip me.
All right, I will take the stand. I have a very blanket statement to make here because it is there are so many of them that it's only fair to say the whole like genre, and that is tabletop RPGs, such as
Dungeons and
Dungeons and
Drag.
Dragons.
D&D is
I
so
won't
great.
specify only D&D because I also get a lot of enjoyment out of other tabletop RPGs, such as Starfinder, which is based off of Pathfinder.
Yep. I particularly also love Savage Worlds. It's so great.
I have the unique experience of having played so many different systems that I truly cannot try and claim one as being my favorite. It's about what you're in the mood for and how well the person running it can make it feel.
That's why I didn't say choose your favorite. Choose one that you absolutely love. And for you, it's just
Yeah, I'd
TTRPGs in
have to
general.
just say it. Yeah, TTRPGs.
All right, Samara.
Okay, so I have two. So of course I love D&D. Got hooked onto it. I think I got into it the most when my dad gave me a D&D art book, which was it was a game where you would basically get like it. I have it right here. Hang on. Ah, here it is. It was called Fantasy Genesis, and then basically, so you would take different sided dice and you would like roll them, and then you would create monsters based off of what you rolled, right? And my dad got it for me when I was like I want to say I was like 15. It was when I first started getting into like really like taking my art seriously and all that. And he was like, "Well, I'm going to teach you how to be creative." And he got me this book. And I still have it to this day. And I mean, it's not technically a board game so to speak, but it's a game that I kind of play with myself, I guess, in a way, but it's really fun. And I used to have other people sometimes play it with me. So they would roll a dice and then based off of what they rolled, we'd create a monster based off of it. So,
That's awesome. Holy crap.
yeah, it's really
That does sound really cool, and it does still meet the requirements to be considered a tabletop game.
I'm trying to see when this. Yeah, he bought me this years ago, and I still have it. And I still play it every once in a while when I'm bored. But now I use like digital art instead of like pencil and pen. But it's still fun to do. Let me see here. Oh yeah, 2010. So I was. God. Okay, let me think here. I was 15 when he gave me this book, and it's still one of my favorites. And I actually, and it comes with like an actual little sheet where it lists everything, and then you would based off of the different roles it would determine like what kind of material it was made out of and stuff like that. So like real quick, I'm just
That's
going to make
awesome.
a point. So one of them that I made here, and it later became part of a game that I'm now making. So for instance, the first thing is called the anima set. So you would basically roll if it was going to be sea life, insect, mammal, reptile, bird, or and another mammal. And depending on what roll you made, you would then pick out of the, you would roll it again, and then that would determine what the animal is going to be, right? So so if it was a insect life, you would roll 2d6, and then same thing with a mammal, depending on how high you rolled or low you rolled. And then you could determine if it was either going to be an animal set or a veggie set. And then you had your emotionless, your action, so what kind of pose were they making, material, what are they made out of, and then the architecture and the tools, so like what their weapon is, machine, stuff like that. So yeah, I used to create. That's how I became like really good at drawing. Was that I would literally have a bunch of D&D dice, and I would roll all these different dice and create all these different kinds of monsters.
That is
So
awesome.
Yeah,
while you were saying
I
this,
still have it because I love it so much. My dad got it for me literally years ago, and it's still one of my favorite books. I still have it with me because it's like such a huge part of my art, art history and stuff. So yeah.
that is very cool. But while you were saying that, something actually did come to mind for things that are just downright bad. Which is, I have a specific instance of this that actually made me sad that it was bad, but it does apply to a whole subgenre as well. And that is the point in time when they tried to make tabletops that merged with like digital content, and they didn't go very well because it was when they were first trying to do it. I don't remember the name of this game, but it was an Indiana Jones one, and it was specifically like there was a DVD or a CD. I think it was a CD that you were supposed to use that like so that you would actually like that would determine like what you were supposed to do with the actual physical stuff, but we could never get it to work. So I just think those types of things from like the time frame where they first started trying to do that sucked because it required a whole different component that you had to have a PC to use, which at the
Hmm.
time we didn't.
That sucks.
But that
Okay.
does bring me to after we get through this, a, a subject I think we should talk about regarding tabletops.
Then bring that up after Jesus and me.
Oh.
All right, little bitch boy, you're next.
Uh, Swearing. How rude of you. Hmm. I can't. I'm gonna say. Have to say, favorite is probably.
I didn't say favorite, just one that you absolutely love.
Oh. Okay. And then I really love. I really like. Yes. Fuck. Fudge. I was not ready.
Well, you're in the
um.
You're
spotlight.
never gonna be ready at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the riffs when we're playing riffs with Bran and stuff.
Yeah, the Rift
With my.
setting is amazing.
Yeah. Um.
Uh, and I do think Savage Worlds really does complement it super well because we did use the Savage Worlds system to play it, but it was the official Rift setting.
Yeah, I haven't had a bad session except like probably like Crème session, but not Crème,
What?
Javi
heavy Javi session,
with
but that's about
Ash.
it. Yeah, but that's
So,
about it. The rest was good, okay and good.
uh, a tabletop game that I absolutely hands down love with all my heart. Gotta remember what it's called now. Crap.
What is it about?
You know, I had it on my mind this whole time, and
Was
now I
I
can't
in it
remember.
or was I not in it?
I I don't know, but God, what was it?
What is it about?
I'm trying to remember and I
You know
can't.
who else has dementia?
What? I just appreciate that Creme didn't say who has dementia because it implies he does. God, my
Do
memory
you
is
know
so,
who else has dementia?
God, my memory is so bad.
Says
It's okay.
Scargini's full
Today at
name.
work, literally, me and my coworker sat there and like half the time we could not remember who had done what or if something had been done.
Ah, this is driving me crazy now.
Come on, we have a time limit.
A time limit? Excuse me. Fine, I guess you're right. I'm gonna go ahead and choose Betrayal at House on the Hill to say this then, because I can't
I just
remember
want
the
I
one I
just
actually
want
wanted
to be
to.
able to actually like play play that with people who want to play it.
I, in fact, have, and it is amazing. And I also played Betrayal at. I own Betrayal at House on the Hill and Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Oh, we should play it in tabletop sim sometime.
Those suck on tabletop sim.
But
No, I mean,
right
like,
now, it's the only way we could do it.
yeah, they're unplayable on tabletop sim. I mean, I'm not joking. You cannot play them on tabletop sim. You need access to
Oh,
things that whoever made those versions of the game just didn't remember to put in the first place.
bruh.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. I've returned.
Okay, in that
Nobody
case,
knew you
then
left.
we'll have to wait until the future when events we have discussed become in motion.
Naturally. So,
I'm holding you to it. I want to play the funny game.
Crème, you mentioned a subject you wanted to talk about.
Yes. I talked about when it was done poorly because it was just beginning to be a thing, but it has become very popular with, for example, Dungeons and Dragons, and that is using electronics to augment your tabletop experience. Whether that be simulation of a tabletop, like through Tabletop Sim or Roll20 for D&D, or whether it be using a laptop or tablet to access a character sheet for D&D, like they do with some people do it for their home games. I think Critical Role does it.
Yep, I think they do.
But yeah, digital augmentations
I don't think
for
they do,
tabletops.
but yeah, sure.
Well, I know that like some big like streamer of D&D
I mean,
uses digital
they use
stuff.
Roll20, not Roll20. Like the D&D
D&D
Beyond.
Beyond.
I
But
don't know
my
if
point
that's what you
is
meant.
electronics augmenting your tabletop gaming experience. What are people's thoughts on it? Things that, they don't like about it, ways they think it could be improved.
Um, I enjoy it. I don't have any problems. I mean, without it, I would have not played D&D.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my first time playing D&D was like on Roll20.
Wow.
Yeah, he is
Uh,
a.
He's a digital baby.
Yes, he is. He's
yeah,
a digital baby.
yeah. I just started playing D&D like 2 years ago
Oh, you,
because I just
you poor,
joined the fest.
sweet, innocent boy.
So,
I just joined Discord like 2 years ago. That's why.
You haven't.
is it
You
all right
haven't
for me to go
experienced.
next?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Um, so as someone who started playing when I was 7 years old, D&D specifically, um, I've experienced it both fully pen and paper, no digital aspects whatsoever, and fast forward to now where I play exclusively online. So I have experienced it in both of its forms, and all things considered, I vastly prefer the experience with electronics involved. Now, would I be down to play in a real life scenario, like at an actual table with people, using physical minis and stuff and dice? Yes, but I still would want aspects of it to be digitalized and enhanced by electronics. Because, for example, one thing that I think really is nice is not having to add all of your modifiers by hand when you are playing the game. Because having a physical piece of paper that you have to constantly erase the numbers from is really annoying for tabletops. Especially when you're
Extremely.
trying to keep track of
Oops, I used a
spells
pen.
on a piece of paper.
Oops, I used a pen. Better get the white out.
No, I
Yeah,
can
literally,
actually
like
beat
the
that.
physical tabletop experience is agony.
Oh no, I can actually beat that. So the worst is, I'm gonna show my age a little bit. So the worst is like when you're doing D&D with a group of young, like I want to say, I say young like I'm old, but I'm not that old. I just
Younglings.
feel old. Younglings, yes, with all the little halflings running around. No,
Yeah.
So I think for me, the worst part of doing like I just building off of that. Worst part of doing like a physical D&D game is there's always snacks, there's always food, there's always drink, and
Okay, that's
there's
something I've always
always
thought was actually a positive about in
no, no,
person.
no, no. It is a positive unless
Oh,
you have
when you
that
get
one
the snacks
person.
on the character
Yes,
sheet.
and then you have that one mother,
Pain.
that the one person who literally you put down your Mountain Dew and they just elbow the crap out of it and it just spills all over your character sheet that you spent the whole prior night writing up every one of your skills. You did it so perfectly. There's not a little like smidge where you like messed up. Everything is pristine. You didn't mess up any of the words. It looks gorgeous. Like you were actually planning on laminating it the next day, but you didn't have time. So now your art is smeared with Mountain Dew and shame.
Yeah, in my opinion, character sheets should always be like fully digital. Now that we have access
Absolutely.
to it,
There
and with
is.
stuff like Roll20, you can do sheets in a lot of the official systems, so that's not really an issue either.
I have actually created my own versions of character sheets that you can do without needing specific apps. Actually,
That too,
this
PDF, just making like stuff
in PDFs and
like
docs and stuff.
Excel. Yeah, using like Excel to make sheets works really well too, because you can make it so it auto calculates stats and stuff for you.
So now that we've kind of gotten some of that out of the way, another good thing to bring up is some bad tabletop experiences. What ruins a tabletop game other than the game itself? Specifically, uh, anything that doesn't necessarily have to do with the game itself, like other players
Big,
and stuff.
yeah, big one is definitely other players. Um, Especially when like the entire party is pretty much in agreements on something, and one person out of the group, this can be for any tabletop. One person's just intentionally being an ass, or like doing things that the rest of the group don't think are cool. This very much reflects in like D&D and other RPGs, but it can apply to board games too.
Yeah, refusing to go along with the rest of the party, and not not doing it as like a character arc thing of your character realizing they should go, more of just, yeah, I don't want to go, and so you're just kind of sitting there and not really doing anything with everyone else.
For for that, I meant more so like when I played in person, I played with my father's friends at one of their houses, and I was the youngest because I was like, when I started doing this, I was in middle school, and everyone was in their like 30s and 40s. So I was
I
definitely
relate to that.
significantly younger. But like one of the guys there was typically the murder hobo, and literally in multiple of their games would wind up ending the entire universe or galaxy, typically because of something he did.
That's, oh boy.
Because that was just a thing of like a lot of their games would literally end in, oh, significant portion of either the world or the galaxy or something to that effect has been destroyed irrevocably, and he was at fault. Like
Sounds about
Sounds like a problem player.
if you've seen the show Limitless or the movie Limitless, we actually did a campaign based off of that, where there's a drug that gives you hyperintelligence. All of our characters were acquiring this, and we're also receiving messages from an unknown person foretelling us of events that were supposed to happen. So this guy, I'm not going to say his name out of respect to him, but so he, upon receiving one of these messages, decides, you know what, I'm gonna go do it. So he goes and blows up a gas pipeline.
Hmm.
Eventually, later on, he consumes all of his remaining pills of this substance, overdoses, becomes a ghost of pure mental willpower, and possesses one of the robots my character is building.
oh Jesus.
and then starts basically making an Ultron army out of my machinery, where
Oh
he
my
starts
god.
making more robots that he can control. I'm horribly upset by this above game because, this is my character's whole thing, and that's what he's using these drugs to do, is to make advanced robotics.
Yep, that sounds crappy.
No,
Uh,
that's rough.
Jesus, what you got any like terrible experiences
Uh, experiences.
with any
Um,
tabletop game?
hmm, not really. Just
I think we've had some I've been part of, Jebus, that I can think of.
oh, do you wanna? Because I'm really forgetful.
I was gonna say, how about that time when we played? God, what was it? I don't think it was. It was not the Carbon Pink. It was. I think it was the Star Wars one, and we were just all rolling terribly. Just
Oh yeah.
every single one of us kept failing, and I'm surprised. Like the DM was feeling kind and didn't punish us because like we were rolling twos.
I mean, typically when that happens, the DM has to kind of be merciful because the odds of rolling that low that consistently are really low. And even as a DM, it just sucks to see that for your players.
So
Yes, it does.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump in on that because that was kind of one of the things that I hate about um just tabletop in general. Now this could be card, this could be anything, but for me, I'm going to go retrace my steps um to the Wayback Machine. I went to actually, so fun fact, I went to Job Corps to get my CNA and medical administrative certifications. um, Good and bad things happened. Good thing was that I got into a really great group. Played D&D every week, and it was awesome. Best thing ever. We all got together, got a pizza from I think it was Little Caesars, a bunch of soda, and we just all gathered in the game room and just held like 20. I think we had like 10 members playing D&D at once. It was so much fun.
Oh,
Anyway,
jeez.
it was pretty hardcore. So I'm gonna show my nerdness. So one of the D&Ds we did, one scenario was one where we played God, I'm gonna sound so like nerdy, but we played a Naruto D&D. Literally, like our DM planned an entire D&D around Naruto, and he did it so fabulously and seamlessly. It was one of the best campaigns I've played to this
I
day.
would have
Like,
loved to play that.
oh, it was so much fun. I remember, and like he made a whole village and everything, and it was very very fun. I enjoyed it. It's probably one of my fondest memories was that D&D. I will say, however, there was one scenario we were playing where we were breaking into the Hokage's office and we kept rolling terribly, terribly. And it was to the point where there's this one character that just could not roll properly. Nothing we did. We kept like I played the support character, so I just kept on throwing support his way, and he kept denying it, and it got to the point where the DM told him, he's like, if you deny it again, you know, you're gonna die. Like he's like, I'm gonna punch you. Yeah, no, like seriously. So, and so he ended up like taking a whole bunch of damage. But I think if anything, I want to say what makes a really bad D&D sometimes is not having a very responsible DM. Like if you have a DM, when you're a DM, you need to understand that you're gonna have to like ease the story forward. Whereas some DMs will just let you sit there and suffer, literally just watch you with pleasure as you struggle. And I think to make a proper good campaign, you want to have it at a good pace, and you want to make it fair for everyone. And I think that ruins a D&D campaign so quickly. It's awful.
I think that's the case with any game. Is like everyone needs to be on the same page of we are supposed to be having fun. You play a game to
Exactly.
have fun.
Yes, I
It's
Sure,
not
things
fully
might
fun.
get
agree.
heated, but at the end of the day, everyone should feel like they had a good time and had fun.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be a competition. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like a little bit of friendly banter. In fact, I feel like it was, what makes it more fun. But at the same time, I think it also can be really uncomfortable, and it gets to the point where some people break away because they just don't want to do it, because at the end of the day it feels like there's favoritism, and it goes wrong. The worst was, like, I think personally, like, especially if you have a female in the group, uh as a woman, I can say right now, nothing makes me more uncomfortable than when we're playing D&D and, like, you can tell that the person wants to hit on you in real life, but they're not going to do it, so they're going to make their character hit on your character aggressively, so to the point where you just, like, want to, like, stop. Like, you just, like, want to, like, stop playing. And I think that happens a lot. Unfortunately, thankfully, it's only happened to me a handful of times, but it can get really uncomfortable. And then, of course, it makes it really awkward, and tensions rise, and that breaks up a group so quickly.
So can I make a quick statement about that? Because I actually have a story about this too.
Go for it.
Um, so my point is that this is not exclusive to female players.
Oh God.
This is inclusive of female characters. I as a guy have played several female characters.
Same.
I
Now,
play male. Yeah.
I
It's
tend
fun.
not to, I don't really sexualize my characters that much because that's not why I do it. I don't do it because, oh, I want to be a woman and have sex with people. I do it because I wanted my character to be female because that's who the character was in my head.
Right.
So, my character was a druid that was also a doctor, as well as a magical healer. Like, I knew science and magic. Um, I was the main healer for our party. Um, One of the guys in this group, um, I'm just gonna say it outright. He was kind of an idiot, and eventually, after this, he did wind up getting kicked out of the group, and this was one of the reasons. But he just, I think he was like frustrated about something that had happened in game, and he decided to take that out by slapping my character's ass.
What?
Yeah, he slapped my character's ass.
Oh my God.
And like made a comment. So definitely not exclusive to female players. It's just that's just a thing certain people do whenever there's a female existing in or out of game.
Well, that's good to know.
That's comforting.
But yeah, from that moment
Not
on, I
comforting,
straight up
but
was like,
comforting.
yeah, if you take damage, I'm not healing you. That's your problem now.
That's funny as hell.
The funniest part is, when he left when we had to kick him out of the group, we had a great story explanation because we were in a snowstorm and he split off from our party by going faster on his animal that he was riding because he was a ranger. Um, and we were just like, yeah, he gets lost in the storm and never comes back. We don't know what happened to him. He probably
Oh, that's
died.
funny.
And
I
no
will say
one
so.
missed him.
Oh my God. I will say so. I will say there was one time I also had a situation like that where it was like I wanted to stop playing because it was getting really, really uncomfortable. And, like, fun fact about me, I mean, I'm boisterous and loud and dumb, but at the same time, I'm extremely socially, like, incompetent. Like, I'm only like this, like, after I get to know people for a very long time, which is shocking. But I don't, like, do well in a large group of people that I don't really know. Um, so I think I was about let me think here. I think I was about 18. I was 17 or 18. It was like right before I graduated high school. So I'm going to say 17. I had basically formed a group. I didn't form it, but I was invited into it. And this group that I was in, I didn't really know anybody. Okay. So, like, they didn't understand my social cues. And, like, for instance, when I was starting getting uncomfortable, which I'll talk about, nobody really knew. So I kind of just suffered in silence because I didn't want to like make anybody else's day worse, so to speak. Um, so yeah, so I'm sitting here and we're playing. I think we were playing Pathfinder. I think it was Pathfinder. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while. Um, and I made a character, and I didn't mean to like. I don't mind sexualizing characters because sometimes it's fun just to make them do stupid stuff. It's part of the game for me sometimes, but like there's also times where it's like I don't want to do that, you know. And I didn't really know these people, so I didn't really want to like make any jokes and like offend anyone. So I kind of toned it down, right? So explain to me why literally every guy, every single one of the people in this group was aggressively flirting with my character, but looking me dead in the eyes while they're doing it. And I'm just like, oh, I'm in danger. Like
They don't know
literally
what a
like that
woman
kid
is.
from The Simpsons on
Yeah.
the bus where he goes, I'm in danger. Yeah,
I'm in
yeah,
danger.
literally. Like that's how I felt. That is literally how I felt. And I'm just like, I'm gonna die. Like I'm not making it home tonight because like I didn't know any of these people. Like I literally only knew them from like I knew one person from work, okay? And they found out that I played like tabletop and like I was nerdy, so they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to try this." I I wanted to jump out of my skin several times, but the piece of resistance for me was probably I want to say was when somebody made a very lewd comment. They were gonna roll to flip my skirt and
What
grope
the
me.
fuck? Sorry.
I wanted to
Language.
leave. I like literally, and I was like, and that is my cue. I'm gonna catch an Uber now. Like I literally was finished. Um, so after
Yeah,
that, I was
if
made
it's any
the rule.
consolation, I bet none of them have ever actually touched a woman, and ever
No, and
will.
That's
they I
exactly
can
why they
tell
were
you
doing
right
it.
now that the closest they got to was touching my character. That was the last time I ever played a game with them. So now I have a rule where I only play with people that I get to know first. You know what I mean? So that way I understand, what kind of personality they have. They understand what kind of personality I have. There's no mixed signals. Everybody knows where everybody's line is, and you stay away from that line. Like I don't play with random strangers anymore because it's like I don't. And I mean, granted, I'm not as pretty as I once was, so it's like I haven't had that issue now. But at the same time, like it's still like one of those things for me. It's like I won't play with people unless I like really get to know them, you know.
I
So
completely understand that. I actually have two semi bad experiences. One way worse than
oh
the
boy,
other. So the first one
boy.
is more the DM just kind of we didn't know each other that well, so she didn't actually give me what I want. But my idea was I want to be a Goliath Eldritch Knight. This is D&D Fifth Edition, and
Ooh.
the idea for him was he has basically just a +1 boulder, and the
Mhm.
whole idea was that he can use as a bonus action summon it to his hands, and so like if he's not in melee with an enemy, that's the first thing he does. He just summons that boulder to his hands and makes an attack with it. And he had
Mhm.
plethora of returning weapons. So his first attack would guarantee be with that boulder, and then just start throwing everything else at you. But that was the idea. What ended up actually
Mm.
happening was I have some kind of mace that doesn't really do too much for anything I do, glue that can only be broken off by a wish, and a +1
The
boulder.
the big glue.
Yeah. And I was hoping, if not at least have some returning weapons. That was the high end of it. I did ask if the boulder could be returning. It was not. So, thank you. I'm not going to name her. I have gotten to know her ever since then, and she's awesome. Like, really awesome. I've played side by side with her, and 10 out of 10 I would game with her again, but I am never going to let her be my DM ever again.
So
Screw
Oh
that.
I
no,
have to
is it
say, I
that
would
bad?
definitely allow that because I've had an idea that's very similar, where the whole character's concept is to have maximized carrying capacity, so that their push pull lift capacity is really high too, and their fighting method is just dropping a boulder on people. And so they just walk around with this giant boulder, and that's all the gear they have.
Oh my
Definitely a
god.
barbarian with that. But yeah, my second bad experience. This one is just downright terrible. Jesus was able to experience this with me. So
Oh goodies.
Javi, who should be joining us soon, uh, made a game, an entire TTRPG called Tales from Beyond. It is, well, if I don't know the rules that well, but when I learn them, because he is still typing out all the rules and stuff as he is expanding more and more on rules and features. He is putting it through alpha testing at the moment, and I think he also said he's in beta testing right now.
So is it like an actual? Is it like a tabletop game?
He's
So
making his own RPG system,
yeah,
yes.
he's making his own TTRPG, and so far he's only ran it on through Discord and Roll20. But
Mm-hmm.
from the little experience I have with it, it's solid, if not very exuberant. If you want to know what
It's a
I mean by
lot
that,
of combat. It's a little long, but making the characters
and
super
he
long.
is improving the combat, so it is much more immersive. My
Yeah.
turn, I had 14 actions I can perform, and by God, I used all 14 actions just to. It was because power fantasy, but also because it is a flaw with the system as it was.
Gotcha.
Goo, I am echoing from somewhere. I was.
That was me. I apologizing.
Now you good. But I did
I
point
was
Oh,
out that
thinking of
flaw,
the
and
next one.
after me having such a high speed, Javi ended up realizing, yeah, I should probably fix that, and asked me for advice. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But the thing, and I'm pretty sure Jesus will agree with me on this, is Ash. So I want to talk about my character a little bit. With Javi's system, you can make very exuberant characters, like I said, and with enough fate points granted from the beginning, which he did give all of us a ton of fate points, basically character points. I ended up making a character that you would only see in a crappy fan fiction. I am a
God.
uh, I was
that one
a.
SpongeBob one.
It's worse than the SpongeBob one, but I actually did not go over the top with the edginess.
You were
I'm trying
basically
to remember
Venom.
of like a vat grown vampire demon thing,
Venom, but
specifically made to hunt down demons. Since I am one of them, it'll be harder for them to basically resist
Nothing
me.
kills a demon like another demon.
yeah.
Exactly. That
Imagine a
was
demon vampire that is the shape of Venom. That's basically him.
that was not me. That was
Gotcha.
Ash.
Oh, that was Ash. Okay, never
Yeah,
mind.
I actually was. I wore armor that was akin to like Daedric armor. I used a big, great-handed, two-handed sword. I was
Great
just
handed.
yeah, I used a great-handed sword. I was just a beast, and despite all the power my character did have, I was also like overly eager to do fighting stuff, which is why I did 14 actions in one turn because
Jesus
character
Christ.
is super eager to just do anything that will actively rebel against his former masters, and would eventually realize, yeah, I probably shouldn't push so far. But
Master of
that
the action
that
economy.
was that was me, and now Javi fixed that system, so now he isn't going to be 14 actions in one turn without extreme penalties that make it just not worth it. I do not want to do that ever again because I will die.
Commits 14 actions, has a heart attack, and immediately fucking collapses.
That could happen. I think that could happen.
Do the Macarena at turbo speed, fall over.
So
Yeah,
Ash
it
ended
took
up
like
joining, and he
10
made
minutes for
something
one
similar.
turn
He made
for one
a
person.
another demonic character that was a sludge that had to attach to someone else. He attached to another player, and I did get to know this other player. He is pretty cool, and
Hmm.
he made pretty much the exact same thing as me, a major demon, but more mage style.
Everybody being a demon edge lord, great.
I
My
just
Yep,
made an
favorite.
aquatic
it was
elf.
it was a possibility, so we did it. Uh, and I saw him, and then they Ash made them invisible. And the whole point was that we meet at this tavern and we all basically end up finding a common enemy of sorts and traveling together and then getting into a scrape and realizing, yeah, I think maybe these guys aren't so bad. That was how the session one was supposed to go, and we actually had to replay it because Ash freaking ruined it. Basically, he was doing
Oh no.
everything in his power, absolutely everything in his power, to make sure the party does not form. He was attached to, I think his name was Rob. It's not the Rob you know, Samara, but he
Oh, okay.
attached to
It's not the
him.
rub either of us know.
Right, it's neither Rob that you guys know, but he attached himself to him to be like his little parasite. And
I have a parasite.
when they encountered the rest of us, he immediately made him invisible and was kind of instructing him, go here, go there. And for some reason, it was like he was trying to follow us, but then wasn't. And eventually, when near our rooms at the tavern, I just had enough of Ash, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna push back just a little bit. I summoned a storm of pure arcane meteors to destroy half of the building, and then
Jeez.
I attempted to intimidate the invisible demon that I saw. And then Ash started going, "What do you mean? You can't intimidate a demon? I'm the exact same kind of demon. Yes, I can." And he just started yelling and saying, "I can't do that." And eventually, when I just said, "Well, I'm gonna do it anyway," and then rolled, he got pissed off and then left.
Of course.
I wasn't gonna bend down to him. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it anyway." Roll.
Sounds like somebody you don't want at your table.
Yeah, and
I was
Javi
gonna say,
That's
has
yeah,
something
that
that's
if
very
anything, it
important
sounds like you
is
dodged a
dynamics
bullet.
with the other players.
exactly. So
I was gonna say, yeah, you dodged a
That's
bullet.
why I refuse to play with just anybody. I I I don't like joining random people because you need to play with people you know you'll be able to like properly, play with and get along with.
yeah, and I didn't know Ash at all, really. He kind of reminded me of you, Crème, with how forceful his personality was, but Jesus, at least you can play a game and not try to control it.
Should
Like,
I be insulted by you saying I have a forceful personality?
no, I
Mm,
meant more the way you speak and the way you do things is you tend to speak loud and you will make your point. Like, you make your point, so did Ash, and I thought that was cool. And then I realized, oh, he's screaming at me because I want to intimidate another demon, even though I am, in fact, the exact same kind of demon
he was also yelling at Heavy
at
because,
Javi.
yeah, because he's the DM and he's like, well, you're not DMing right or something like that, you know?
Wait. He yelled at
Ah,
the
yes,
DM for
you
not
who made
DMing
the
right.
system are doing it wrong.
Yep. And I'm like,
Oh,
let him tell the
oh,
story.
he would
He
have
knows.
died.
Yeah.
He would have died if it was me as the DM. I would have made him suffer.
And I felt
Cool,
really
you
angry
die of
because
dysentery. Leave.
I felt
The
really
door
angry
is
because
there.
he said
Yeah,
like, well, sometimes you forget things and maybe like you need to like keep on like, or something like that. I don't know what he said.
Oh
Huh,
no
you
no
know
no!
what? Maybe
I
you're
would
right.
have
I do forget things. Oh, hey, look at this character sheet I don't remember.
no. I would have made it worse. Not only would I would have killed him, but I would have brought him back to life to kill him several times throughout the campaign, and like made him literally like the biggest butt of every joke. I would have done. Oh, I would have done evil things.
yeah.
Like I got really mad and
He
then like
was pissing me off during that entire session. Like, I was
Wow.
just not having fun anymore. I was like, come on. I was thinking to myself, come on, Ash, just let the party form. We're all trying to. We're supposed to meet here and do the classic party meets in a tavern thing, and
Party meets in a tavern.
yeah, he's just wasn't letting that happen. And so when I
What
finally
the
pushed back and
crap?
he couldn't resist, he couldn't retaliate, and when he realized he didn't have any control, he left. And
Of course, because he needs to control the situation, and once he realized he had no control, well, there goes the situation.
yep, and so he left,
Oh
and then
God, what a piece!
a little bit after that, after he left, it's like a minute. I remember Heavy was like, "Well, there you go, Nick. Congratulations." And I was sitting there relieved he was finally
Yes,
gone.
I deserve it.
And this is Heavy talking from me being and my flaws, my being and my flaws, and I do realize that I tend to be an asshole sometimes. But
Okay,
this
here's the
was one
thing
of
though.
those
I think
times
you were
where,
the true hero of that situation.
yes, I know I was, because Ash was being an ass, and finally, after Heavy realized this wasn't the first time Ash had done this, because Javi specifically stated that this isn't the first time he's done this. He has been an ass multiple times, and he did help. Ash did help document the game to help keep things in order, and Javi is eternally grateful for that help. But Ash started acting like he did half the work, and he wanted more power than everyone else, and everything. And Javi was just not relenting. Thank you, Javi, for
Well,
not
here's the
letting him
thing.
be more powerful than the rest of us. But
Yeah, here's the thing.
after
So
that,
there.
everyone kind of like
Go ahead.
thanked me. I'm sorry, I'm somewhere. I'm not done. But everyone thanked me,
No, it's
and
all good.
Javi asked if we wanted to stop the
Start
game for
over.
now, start over, or stop the game for now. And everyone said, with Ash gone, we kind of want to just start over. And that was so relieving to finally not have Ash in there again. And I wanted to find some kind of excuse to tell that story because it was something just in the back of my mind, and it pissed me off so pissed me off so fucking much. God, I I am never ever gonna play with randoms again. If I don't know you, I am not playing any tabletop game with you at all.
I will say the only circumstance in which someone I don't know I'm okay with playing is if it's through a friend that does speak very highly of them.
I'm not even
But
gonna do
even
that.
then,
I need
it's
to
like
know them
if I don't get along with them, I'm just gonna make it a either I'm gonna have to go or they are.
because I have tried to play with randos before. This was by far the worst experience. But most of the time when I play with randos, it's usually noobs, and I will be much more forgiving for people who are new at games and will actually play with people who are new at games, even if I don't know them. But that is the only exception I will ever make. Even if I've had a friend that speaks highly of them, no,
Well,
absolutely
my
not.
point is, from my point of view, like the game you're running for us. For me, I didn't know anybody. I'd spoken some to Samarra here, but like other than that, I didn't really know anybody other than I guess Jesus.
Hmm.
Jesus. I knew you from like talking to you, but I didn't know anybody else, and to be honest, I still really don't.
Yeah, I don't
But
know them
you say
either.
that it's okay, so I trust you.
I don't even know myself.
Yeah, the only reason I'm actually running for a group of people I don't know is because they are noobs. This would be their first experience. I'm more than happy to try to indoctrinate people into the cult of D&D, specifically
Yes.
Carbon Pink.
God help me.
Nah, thrust them
I
back
made
into the
so much
days of
carbon pink
TACO.
ones the other day.
Thrust them back into the days where you had to calculate somebody's THACO before you could even hit them.
Dear God, no, I still don't
Please
understand
tell me you
THACO.
know what THACO is.
I still don't understand how to do THACO. I know what THACO is.
Yeah, trust me, I don't think anybody does unless they played it back in like the 80s.
I have an AC of 0. Uh, dude, they're so easy to hit. Excuse me, that's the highest
Wrong.
AC in the game.
Highest AC in the game cannot be touched. The air molecules don't even touch their body if they don't want them to.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ridiculous.
So unless
old
the
D and
only
D was
exception I
whack.
make is noobs. But if someone's experienced, I need to at least get to know them some. And I did not spend nearly enough time getting to know Ash before I gamed with him. And that is a part of the reason why I don't do Dungeons and Dragons with Ed anymore. Because Ed, as absolutely amazing a DM as he is, he almost exclusively now either is a professional paid DM with a
That's something
schedule
I'm
I
not
can't work with,
necessarily a fan of.
that I can't with schedule I can't make, or he's running free games that you can tip him at if you want, but will keep uh, DMing anyway at game stores like Myth Adventures and Game Inc. but he's running for just it's an open table. If you want in, grab a character sheet, grab some
You're
dice,
in.
grab a pencil, you're in, and he will do his best to teach you how the game goes, how the game works, and it's a very forgiving environment. But I had some not horror stories, but like some stories, some not super great experiences like that too. Players forgetting certain things and other whatnot, and I even remember this one guy. I absolutely love this guy, despite the fact that he is a problem character and a problem player. His whole shtick is he wants to make his character as tanky as absolutely possible, but will absolutely
Oh
not be on
god,
the front lines. He wants to be invincible and not take one for the team,
those people suck.
which
Literally.
led my cleric to having to walk into, I think it was 3 or 4 longbow shots, a couple crossbow shots, and a held spell action, dropping me down to 2 hit points by the time that onslaught was done. I was a tanky cleric. That's the only reason I didn't die immediately. But I finished my turn by walking up and hitting a guy. And on the start of my next turn, I take 2d6 poison damage. 2d6 acid damage. It's I was gonna be down already, but the that was the only way we were gonna get in that warehouse because the enemies weren't coming out. We had to go in, and the guy with the AC of 21, like 30 something hit points, same amount of hit points I had, was like, so I'm gonna wait out here until those held actions are done, until I can't get shot at while walking in. And like I said, I absolutely love the guy purely for that because that is so stupid. But I don't want to play with him anymore.
Meanwhile, my Chad armor artificer with a like 19 AC that does that type of shit, but has is ranged, but is armor artificer, so really good AC.
I was originally
But
gonna do that
also
with
like
Marcus.
I'm Doom Guy. I'm committing Doom Guy right now in that campaign, where I'm actively going through a basement to attack a bunch of mind flayers on my own with an army behind me, but none of the players with me.
Wow. Okay, man.
The players are all currently using the Zeppelin that we just took over to bomb the city from above,
That's cool.
because we're trying to take out an Elder Brain.
That sounds awesome. Is that like your one of your favorite experiences to happen in a tabletop game? I'm gonna go ahead and segue into the next section. Some of your favorite things to happen in tabletop games.
Oh, my favorite is easily Chunky Boy. Chunky Boy is forever the Chad of all D&D that I've played. Uh, so for reference, can I go ahead and explain what Chunky Boy is for the podcast?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I tend to use stuff like Pinterest to find character art, and then I might make a character based off of that, right? So I one day find this picture of a big lizard guy. Kind of looks a bit like a crocodile, but he looks stupid. This thing looks like it's got one brain cell and it isn't even turned on. And I love it instantly because he's got a big smile, but he looks dumb as hell. Derpy, just absolutely stupid, but lovable. And I'm like, all right, Robert, my friend, DM of this game, this is the man. He is Chonky Boy. That is his legal name. What is he gonna be? And so we sit there and we look through all of the all of the classes and subclasses in D&D 5e to see what would be the funniest thing for this absolute unit of stupidity to be. And we stumble upon it, the funniest thing. I'm reading over the subclass abilities of the cleric subclasses, and we had just been sharing some memes about Jimmy Neutron, and specifically like the Jimmy Neutron movie. So the sequence where everyone does the chicken dance is stuck in my head, and I see that this cleric subclass, has the ability to force you can try and read somebody's mind, and when you do, you can automatically make them fail at a suggestion spell. And so I'm immediately like, oh, he does this and just instantly makes people do the chicken dance.
That's
And so
awesome.
I became a knowledge domain cleric when my lowest stat is intelligence. I was the
Oh my god.
strongest member of our group, despite the fact that I intentionally handicapped an important stat for myself. And I wasn't even officially a member of the party. I just happened to be there when they showed up and followed them around.
That is amazing. I
Mm,
think all of our
sounds about
stories are
right.
going to be D&D or something related.
But
Uh,
yeah, just very funny. And I did some crazy stuff as Chonky Boy.
Samarra, you got anything? Can you top Chunky Boy?
Um, I don't know if I can, but I'll try. So, one of the very first DMs that I got to do, would you stop I'm sorry, hang on. My cat is rubbing against my TV because
Show cat.
he wants attention.
Show cat.
The hoe. Yes,
It
he's
is
a hoe
National
cat.
Cat Day.
It is National Cat Day. Um, yeah. So I gotta say, probably one of the craziest things I ever did was we were um we were playing Shadow Realms. I think it was Shadow Realms or no, it wasn't Shadow Realms. I gotta think. Hang on.
I almost heard
You know what?
Shadowrun for a second.
Yeah, I did. But I thought I was like, no, maybe I'm good. I didn't really do too much with Shadow Realms. I guess I'll talk about the Naruto D&D. Euphrates, if you're out there, you did a very good job. You're a man. You're a true man out there. True DM. We all strive to be you. Um, so yeah, like I said, built this entire D&D around Naruto, which is impressive because I don't. He literally spent months playing this thing. And keep in mind, everybody wants to be like ridiculously overpowered, and it's pretty bad. Like everyone, of course, wants to be an Uchiha, or everyone wants like the most powerful like weapon or ability to start out with. But we were babies. We had to start out as little level one characters, and of course, everybody's over here like I want to be this and this and this, and so I went the route of you know what I want to be an Uzumaki. I want to be like literally most basic character, and I'll build on from there. Okay, so I ended up so we started out like pretty low level, and then at one point, because he literally was like, you know what, I like your character. You want to make her the leader of your little village thing? Like y'all are a bunch of little rogue, crazy baby ninjas running around. You get to be the leader. And I'm like, okay. So literally, I went from having like the weakest character in the party, like I was the wee baby must protect, to literally destroying enemies. And one of my favorite was we had to at one point in the game, like I said, we had to like steal from the Hokage. And if you play Naruto, if you watch Naruto, you know. I'm not gonna sit here and explain everything because it's just gonna be too long. The point is that we had to steal from the Hokage, and
The President.
yeah, basically ninja president.
Ninja President.
And the ninja president just happened to be Naruto Uzumaki, aka the main character, and yeah, that was one of the hardest, grueling fights ever. And
I'd
my whole
imagine.
thing was that I was the support slash medic person, and then at the same time because I was like the not like Naruto Uzumaki, but like the Uzumaki, like basically his mom, the sealing abilities. So I was
Oh, the
still pretty
chains
weak.
and stuff.
Yeah, I had the chains because the
Oh,
chains were
that's so
fucking cool.
cool.
They were so cool. But anyway, I'm sorry, I swore. But yeah, so I was like, I want to do sealing. Yeah. So um, I remember literally we were playing, and he goes, okay, so if you roll this, you'll seal Naruto. And I was like, oh shit. Like oh crap, like I'm gonna actually like, oh, I'm gonna be useful. Oh, I'm not gonna be trash. Okay, so he told me, he goes, if you do this, everyone else is literally going to die if you don't roll this properly. So the weakest character took down the main character of an entire anime series with a natural 20 of sealing plus like 10 and keep in mind, I had to beat like a 60, okay, because he had ridiculous amount of power. So I was like, okay, I have to beat a 60. So not only did I have to get a natural 20, I had to roll for 3 dice and get basically anywhere from a 15 to 20 on all three of them. Not a if any of them rolled under, I think you said a 12 or a 15, I would not, any of them, I would not be successful. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this.
No pressure.
No pressure, like, because literally everybody's like out, completely out of chakra. Nobody has any more weapons. We're done. Like, it is my turn. One of my teammates is knocked out in the corner, almost had his eyes ripped out. Like, it's a pretty stressful situation. Like, we're all
Make or
sitting
break
here, like,
moment.
yes, literally. And so I'm like, oh, okay, no pressure. It's gonna be useful. Okay, so I somehow rolled a natural 20, an 18, and a 16.
Wow.
Oh my god! And literally, like, everyone just went quiet and then just lost it. Yeah. So basically, I was the weakest character in my group, and I took down the main bad, like the main boss. And yeah, that was it was a pretty interesting moment because, like, the entire time I was just basically an attack sponge. Like, I was just getting beaten the crap out of, kept having to heal myself. Like, it was awful. It was awful. And literally, like, I was just like, okay, I'm useless. I've basically become I've literally become like, I'm literally sitting here like, in
You're kind of
danger,
like cutting
literally
in
just
and
getting
out.
hit over and over and over. But yeah, so it's like I had that like underdog moment where I went from underdog to literally later on they voted me to be like the Kage of our village, and I'm like, hey, weakest character becomes the strongest in one sitting. So I think that was
Yeah.
probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me in the D&D. Because if fun fact about me, I am a horrible roller. That is the reason why I try to put as many bonus points into my characters as I can, because I know I'm gonna roll terribly. So
You're not alone. I
yeah,
have pretty bad luck most of the time.
yeah, no, it's pretty bad. Honestly, I'm shocked with how good we're doing in Carbon Pink right now, because I was just thinking, I'm gonna do medic again because apparently I like being a glutton for punishment. And then I find out I have like the highest wisdom in our group. So hey,
Yeah, you have some of the. Yeah, I think you have rolled the best stats in the Carbon Pink campaign, and Crème
Oh,
absolutely hands down rolled the lowest. Also, Javi has just joined us.
yeah. I had the
Sorry for
worst
the
luck
sudden
rolling
intrusion.
stats for that character. I tried. I must have rolled like 10 times for stats when we weren't even supposed to, because I kept getting absolutely piss poor stats that were like worse than like point buy.
You need
oh
to start
god, yeah.
killing monsters left and right
In
with
the
Yeah,
end, I
healers.
finally settled for like min maxing stats, which normally I wouldn't do, but it was particularly because of the circumstances my character was in.
Ah,
Eh,
indeed.
it's okay. We shall protect.
Now,
yeah.
let's go ahead and grab Jesus. Jesus, give us a great moment, a moment that you just absolutely loved in a tabletop game.
Um,
Doesn't have to be D&D. It can be just a regular board
It can
game
be
too, like
anything.
Cards Against Humanity.
Oh,
Oh
Cards has some
god.
great stories.
Oh no.
um,
Oh,
But
well, on
wait,
my,
you want to make this age appropriate?
yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say,
Yeah,
we
if
gotta
that's
Cards
why
balance
Against
we're
this.
not
Humanity
bringing
is,
cards into this.
yeah, if
We
Cards
can
Against Humanity is on
appreciate
the
it as a
table, then
game for
I do
adults,
not have
but we're
any
not
good
talking about
stories to
it.
tell that would be age
No, no,
appropriate.
I don't have any age appropriate stories for Cards Against Humanity. I'm sorry, and I played them with
I
my mother.
dare anyone to have an age appropriate story for Cards Against Humanity.
I
yeah,
will
we
say though,
can definitely
I
say that.
have had a lot of fun
Choice.
playing that with members of my family, including grandparents.
Oh,
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I actually played
Revealing,
it with my grandparents on Bill's side.
I have seen some of the darker parts of my grandmother's soul with that game.
it really
It does
reveals
bring
like
out the
how
worst.
Cards Against Humanity. Yeah.
So,
I
Jesus,
Oh, my favorite thing that happened. Well, I kind of just liked everyone's support. Uh, when I was playing, the Savage World one, when I was playing Clover, and
I don't remember who Clover was. Was that your halfling?
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Was
If
that the one that died?
No.
no, we didn't continue that campaign very far. But are you gonna talk about the line?
I can't remember. Could you help me? Could
Okay,
you describe
so
it?
basically, he was playing a halfling bard, and I'm playing a half orc barbarian. Now, this is Savage Worlds with the Pathfinder rules, so we actually do have classes, which I'm not sure I really like because Savage Worlds is supposed to have classes, but whatever. I'm a half orc barbarian, and my whole story was I'm a gladiator. I just got freed by someone, and the government that gladiated me, that enslaved me, was hunting me down for sport now with some of their nobles. And so my whole character, my character was basically just I'm strong, I'm tough, and dumb as hell. But he thought he was an absolute genius, and was easily pissed off, easily provoked. And we captured this one noble guy's son, and basically his father had sent him to hunt me down to turn him into a man. And we were all like, yeah, well, you're not wanting to do it. You're already more of a man than your father was. But I decided my character, Draco, was his name. He actually lost his left eye already. He was one-eyed, uh, and so as a way to atone for his sins, Draco was like, "So you decide to hunt me down. I'm gonna go ahead and make you pay for it by scorching off your left eye, so you look more like me." And as I'm doing that, we have a drow in the party, and she's like, trying to think. The player's like trying to think of a reason to talk me out of that, but can't think of an in character reason why she would. And then Jesus here aims. The whole point of this character from the beginning, her whole quest line started with, "I'm going to save Draco. I'm going to save this guy. He does not deserve this fate." Jesus aimed his crossbow at me and said, "Draco, if you keep acting like a monster, that's the only thing you'll ever be, and that's the only thing anyone will ever treat you like." Immediately changed my character's mind, right then and there. And that, I think that's what you were going to reference, and that's honestly one of the things I was going to say too.
Yeah. And then like I didn't think I thought I would have messed up or something because I was just angry. I was letting my emotions just run through me, and uh and then I was like, ah, damn, I said something stupid probably. And then like
Honestly,
Bran and
despite that coming from
CJ,
anger, that's a very profound comment from you.
yeah, and then and then like CJ and Bran were like, wow.
Yeah, and you immediately got extra XP on that one. And
Yeah.
I was there like, "Oh, Jebus, you couldn't have picked a better thing to say." And that actually was what started me on the path to even wanting to redeem Draco a little bit. Want to aim away from evil because, oh my god, I was just gonna make him angry boy. That changed his whole
Okay,
life.
can I bring up another moment that I've loved from a character that also ties to uh, my love of homebrew, uh, like not things that
Huh.
are not officially on the books.
Sure. Do you want to do that after or before Javi? Javi, do you want to let him take the stage first, or do you want to go first? You did just get here, Javi.
He
He's washing
probably just went
dishes.
to do something. Yeah.
Dishes.
No, I was just muted the entire time because I'm stupid.
He was muted
Wonderful.
because he was washing dishes and didn't want us to hear it.
Sorry, Javi.
Uh, I said I'm like, no, I just got here, so I don't mind like Crème taking the spotlight this time around, and then I can go after.
All right, Crumb,
All
take
right.
it away.
So this is actually the same character that was a female and got her ass slapped. Um, but this character and this was a world that was of the making of the DM. It was not an official setting. In this world, the god of the sun had fallen by sacrificing aspects of his existence to enslaving other gods, not like rival gods, bad like alien gods. Um, and but like the sort of like hollowed out existence of what was left of this god that didn't even know what he was anymore was still around. And at one point, we were starting to like realize, hey, there's something up with this guy. So I try to use identify to see what's up with him. Which first off, that's not even how the spell works. But I reach out and touch him. It's burning hot. I can't even bear to touch him to cast the spell. So I cast Detect Magic.
Okay.
Imagine opening your eyes point blank in front of the sun.
I
Oh,
think you
Like
told me that one.
not looking at it, but directly in front of the sun, opening your eyes. Um, so we roll to see how badly this affects my eyes on a percentile, and I got like 1.
oh,
I got extraordinarily low. So the pupils literally, like the pupils, the irises, literally everything but the eyes themselves literally get burned off of my eye to where my eyes are just now pure white. So my
you
character
literally
is now blind.
you literally burned your eyes out.
I literally burned my eyes out, except that I still have my eyes.
Oh, I
So
remember this one.
this is never going to be healed. This can't be fixed. So I try to make a bargain with my DM because playing a truly blind character with no additional senses is extraordinarily hard. Like Robert actually currently plays a character who's blind but has blind sight because his character was born blind. Um, my character, however, would not have been getting that benefit as they just got blinded. So I said, hey, it was the power of the sun from the sun god that did this to my eyes as I cast Detect Magic. Could this have burned the essence of Detect Magic into my eyes, granting me Detect Magic permanently? So I would only have 30 feet of vision, but I would be able to see all magic within that aura. And he said yes. So I was not able to see normally, except for when I transformed into an animal because I was a druid. But I could see magic all the time.
That's actually pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
And that is something I absolutely love is when your DM allows you to do something that is not explicitly written in the official rules. Because there's nothing in the rules that should have let me do that. But it was something really cool that in the spur of the moment, my DM said, yeah, sure, why not? And I am forever grateful because it was really cool.
Hell yeah, it was.
Would have okayed it.
And this, Robert has also continuously let me like try out different fun ideas using homebrew, which I've been very fond of. Um, not, we keep things balanced, but like it's always fun for me to get to try out something new. But yeah, Javi, your turn.
Uh, okay. I think if I was to pick one moment in terms of like stuff that has happened in a tabletop game, I think I'm gonna go with D&D as well, specifically for this. The one moment that I hold on to very fondly, that I would have to say would be one of my first time. I think it was my very first time playing D&D, and I had um, I had chosen to play as an artificer for my first go. In hindsight, probably not the best choice considering I was brand new and there's so many mechanics to it, but
Oh yeah,
I figured it out.
Artificer's definitely hard.
I figured it
Yeah.
out. Uh, but I think it paid off really well because when like throughout most of this, I had just a bunch of crazy ideas, and Artificer just kind of allowed me to dive into it and try. And the craziest idea I've ever done, uh, I lovingly refer to as the canon of holding. Uh, those of you that are familiar with D&D may have an idea of what I'm referring to. It's not very common that DMs would allow this, but what I had done was I had stuffed a absolute crap ton of gunpowder into the bottom of a bag of holding. And every single weapon we had ever gotten and didn't use, I had just chucked inside that bag.
Oh, I know where this is going. Yeah, this
Yes.
mechanically does work. This mechanically does work, though.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing was I asked the DM ahead of time, like, hey, if something explosive is inside of a bag of holding and it goes off, what happens to the bag of holding? The DM in this particular campaign said, what I do is it's fine, but everything that's inside of it gets shot out. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. And he thought that that was that. So what ended up happening was I had kept stuffing every single thing I could find that was a weapon into that cannon. It was basically just like a junk pile. And eventually I found a way to attach said bag of holding to a little like robot. I want to say I was a battle master or whichever one of the artificer archetypes lets you have a little robot companion.
Yeah,
And
Battle
I had
Master.
attached it. Yeah, it is battle master, and I had
No.
attached it to the mouth of this little robot boy. I think his name was Gerald. And we had this one little saying, like whenever we had junk gear we didn't want, it ended up becoming a group thing, just like, oh, it's time to feed Gerald. Uh, and imagine over the course of an entire campaign, spanning, I want to say like on a conservative amount, let's just call it like around 50 sessions, easily. That much of items that we had just stored in there. And finally, I think we were doing Curse of Strahd, I want to say, and we we get to Strahd, and I'm like, hey, I'm like, this is my first campaign. This is my first ever time fighting Strahd. I want to see if I can try something. Take one quick hit. Can I go first in the initiative order just this once? And then we'll do initiative like normal. And everyone was like, yeah, I don't mind that. So I had my first go, and I had Gerald open his mouth and aim at Strahd. And open fire. Everything pours out of Gerald and absolutely destroys Strahd. We had numerous magic weapons in there. I honestly, I forgot half the stuff we had in there, but I knew that there was a plethora of all kinds of stuff. And towards the tail end of it, I brought up a mechanic that this DM had where a weapon could break, and if it did, depending on the type of weapon, it would shatter and splinter in like different
The
areas, depending on
fragmentations of it
the
would actually do
fragmentations of it.
things.
Yes, the fragmentations would actually do things. And I brought this up, and this is an in person. I could see the look of horror in his eyes. The DM, Andrew.
Congratulations, you invented shrapnel grenade grape shot.
Oh, yeah. And I just remember seeing the look in his eyes, the pure fear, and I was absolutely ecstatic the entire time. I had turned a mechanic he had allowed into the most terrifying weapon I could possibly have thought of in that moment. And it was fully loaded with everything that we had ever accumulated over the course of around 50 sessions on the low end.
Yep.
So this thing absolutely demolished Strahd in a single blow. And I just remember everyone looking like he did that. And this is me. I was the newbie. I was the guy who was still like figuring some things out because I chose a class that I probably should not have given it was my first go. I'm the same guy that asked subsequently on a different like on a different I think encounter how a certain thing worked for the 12th time probably. And
Here you are,
I I
one-shotting Strahd.
I just remember the entire party looking at me, and they never saw me the same way again. I went from just this like innocent newbie to just like, I guess they saw me as just some
Slayer of the
kind of,
Immortal.
yeah, like they
Slod
one of
Strahd
them
Slayer.
like Strahd Slayer. I remember some of them called me that at one point, but they had basically looked at me as if I had committed a dozen war crimes at once.
I mean, you one-shotted Strahd. You basically did commit a war crime.
No, yeah. And in the entire time, I'm not fully grasping the situation because, again, I had never fought
You just
Strahd
killed the
beforehand.
BBEG of an entire official campaign setting.
Here's the thing. I knew it was a big deal. I just didn't fully grasp how big of a deal it was at the time. And now, looking back, I completely understand why, moving forward from that session, Andrew had no longer allowed the bag of holding to function in that way.
Yeah.
That is completely understandable to me.
I
To be
mean,
fair,
might
that
as
is
well.
a that did require a lot of like planning, whether intentional or not, to have
Yeah.
pull off.
Oh no, yeah.
So yeah,
That's
might
just
as well assassinate Dracula in his sleep, right?
basically. And that's just kind of what happened. And after that, I had just decided to, just pour more gunpowder in there. I kept some spares because I had a thing for explosives. I just kind of put up some more gunpowder to replace the old. And every single weapon that was still intact somehow, I just put that right back into Gerald. Ready for the next round. Um, and I just remember at that point, I don't know. I guess I took the concept of like, oh, yeah, you can no longer do that. And I guess from that point on, I took it as a challenge because every single subsequent time I had gone Artificer, I had looked for another way to create some other terrifying weapon of war.
Have you seen the portable cannon?
Yes, I have.
The one where they got a ring of anti magic that was extraordinarily small, so
I
they've
Mm-hmm.
attached it to a
I found
flintlock.
that concept and decided to one up it after I found a bracelet that did the same thing, and I attached that to a
Excellent.
blunderbuss.
Excellent.
Don't mind me, I have a multi-shot cannon.
Ah,
Um,
Dungeons and
Wonderful.
Dragons.
it was honestly
There's
since
also
then.
the timeless classic of the banishment portal crossbow bolt,
Oh
which
yeah,
is um, two bags of no, it's a bag of holding and a portable hole
yes,
attached to a
because
crossbow bolt,
two
so that when
different
it hits, it fires the portable hole into the or it forces the portable hole
once it might makes
into the bag
impact.
of holding. Yeah,
I do
once it
believe
makes
I had done
impact,
that as well.
it
Um,
that'll just instantly warp somebody away.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
and
the thing I love about it is technically artificers can do it for free
yeah, I know I did do
because
it.
once per day they can make using their infusions bags of holding. So if you just do it with two bags of holding, you can easily just force people into the off the material plane easily.
Hell yeah.
And
Mechanically
honestly,
speaking,
it's just like,
it's default by the book rules that no one can stop you from doing.
yep,
I
and like it was a major turning point because then I realized how effective something crazy that just kind of a random thought that came to mind would actually be.
This is why you should never let an engineer be an artificer unless you're prepared to face the consequences.
Oh no, yeah,
Because
and
I've seen the horror stories of people who let engineers be artificers, like actual people who do engineering for a living.
the most terrifying part I think was that it opened the door to me like enjoying Artificer so much it became the main class I used for years.
all
Uh,
right. I
and
love artificers too.
I I had gone so far into it that I had attempted to recreate chemical weapons via the alchemist, and it went
So,
pretty damn well.
funny story. I actually have a character concept that me and Rob came up with. That's just like shitty knockoff Walter White as the alchemist.
As the alchemist artificer.
Yeah,
That's
it's
Yeah.
literally
awesome.
just my it's literally just me doing my Walter White impression from when I watched Breaking Bad, where we would just constantly, in the most monotone impersonation ever, say like really blatant things as Walter White.
I think that all has been like my favorite. Like I think that specific moment though, with the bag of holding and killing Strahd, was my all-time favorite of like any particular D&D session that I've had. Although one other thing that I'm doing in a future campaign might top it.
Well,
Uh,
tell us when it
and
happens.
yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
save it for when it happens.
I
Don't tell
will
us yet.
actually.
Keep us on the edge
I'm just letting
on
you
the
know,
edge of our seats.
in the future,
I also
I
don't
might have
want
a
this to
story
be
that'll be
another.
quite a doozy.
I don't also don't want the story to, this episode to be a 4 hour episode.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love that you one shotted Strahd and I befriended a Sararak by trivia night.
yeah,
You befriended a boss. I just decided to choose violence and unleash a cannon strapped to my battlemaster like familiar dude.
I actually it's not called Battlemaster. I don't remember what it's called, but Word Battle is in its name.
Smith.
Battlesmith. Battlemaster is the
It
fighter
Battlesmith.
immediately, yeah.
Yeah,
Battlemaster is
Battlemaster
fighter.
is what?
fighter.
Fighter?
Fighter.
Yeah.
I actually have
Coordinates maneuvers, I think.
a few of my favorite moments ever from D and tabletop in general, but most of them will be from D&D. Uh, and one of them was Jesus in that amazing line, just so badass. If you keep acting like a monster, that only everyone only ever treat you like one. Jesus, props to you. One of the best things you ever could have done and ever could have said. Another moment of mine that's an absolute favorite comes from D&D, where I'm playing a human barbarian. I decided to be the powerhouse of the team and just went dead simple. And my stats were pretty amazing, and I ended up getting a longsword called the Longsword of Ruinous Strike. This is a weapon that Ed had modified from fourth edition D&D, where you hit someone with your weapon, and you move and you half the damage you deal, so you do only half damage on that hit, and then you push them back a number of feet equal to your strength score. Round up at first, but with the suit of armor that he gave another player, but when he realized that was a little too broken, he rounded it down, so I can move people 15 feet away. Move in that many spaces, and I gain an extra d6 of damage on my next attack against them per 5 foot square I move toward them. As a
Oh,
barbarian, I abused the holy hell out of that with my movement of 50. I push them back, move back some feet, and then rush them and deal a whole bunch of extra d6s of damage. The downside of that is until the start of your next turn, all attacks targeted you will deal that extra damage back to you. This is a barbarian's weapon. I was the only one in the party who could withstand anywhere close to that amount of damage. And so we were fighting like a sea monster on a small sailor's ship. And I don't
oh
remember
no.
exactly what this thing was. I think I told Javi this one. But what happened was I am the barbarian. So naturally, the moment I know where the monster is, I dive underwater to 1v1 it Jason Statham versus Megalodon style.
1v1 the Kraken.
And so it's under the boat. Most of the crew and the other players got off. So I decide, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and ruinous strike this thing. And I send it flying 15 feet into the air and I capsize the boat. Whatever crew that was still on the boat, I ended up accidentally killing, but I capsized the boat in a single strike.
It was worth it.
Well worth it. And despite the fact that
Right, so nothing, right?
everyone felt bad for the death of the young crewman, everyone was cheering at that like and Ed looked like he wanted to die.
It is
This
a DM's job to experience internal death.
yep,
Internal death is part of the job. Can
and
concur.
that's not the first time I did that to Ed. Another I'm sorry, I have so many favorite things to share. Another favorite thing I did
Sure.
I went
was
easy on you by not talking about all the character concepts I've enjoyed.
yep, that would bog this down too much. But another thing I did was climbing on the table meant for a giant as a paladin in full plate armor and misty stepping 20 feet above the main boss, who was just a witch.
Oh,
So I ended up
Nice.
fall damaging her, and Ed had to take a minute to realize how the hell to work this out mechanically.
Dude, teleportation in D&D is stupid. I once teleported off of a mountain. Like, what one half of our party was being flown away by someone with wings and a portable hold. I'm just like, oh, I can cast Dimension Door twice, so I'm just gonna Dimension Door 500 feet forward, and then Dimension Door again once I get close enough to the ground.
Hell yeah.
Just like I'm just gonna dimension door a bunch of times. Sorry, what?
You
Yeah.
got you guys have fun flying down. I'm gonna take a shortcut.
Yeah.
I got a shortcut for a thing. Whee!
What was that, Javi?
No, I just love the idea. Just like yeah, you guys go your way. I'm gonna go. I got a shortcut. No,
It's
what?
literally the equivalent of the people who jump off of a mountain with a water bucket in Minecraft,
Yeah.
where they're just gonna place the water before they land.
The peak of survival. I had another story that I loved that I did, and this one is from one that isn't quite as well known as D&D or Cyberpunk, but it mixes the two genres together. Shadowrun. Shadowrun
Shadowrun.
is just an amazing game. It is
Very
Cyberpunk's.
complicated in terms of combat, though.
Yep, fifth edition Shadowrun is super complex, but uh, the newer game that came out, Anarchy, rectified a lot of the complexness, but I like the complexity. But
I like the complexity for character design.
I was playing an orc gun bunny. I had cyberware, I had a shotgun, I had like little submachine gun, a pistol, and my fists. Those are all the weapons I needed. I wore some pretty heavy armor. I had an agility of 4, and my dad, I was playing with him. He was playing a cyber monkey. There was very little parts to this character, Amp, and I honestly still love Amp to this day. Amazing character. Very little parts of her body that weren't made of metal. So super heavy, and we were at a hotel at one point. We had my uncle Josh, who was playing as a mage. We had a friend of ours, Jorge, who was playing as an adept, and Lucian as the GM. And so we're at a hotel. Me and my dad are in our hotel room waiting to be ambushed because we knew we're under attack, while the other two were outside scouting around. Now, Jorge's character Spider was specifically a bit of a famous VTuber kind of thing. And when we notified him that we were under attack because a troll came in and started shooting a bow and arrow at us, we started shooting back. We told him we're under attack, and he got a whole bunch of his fans to start recording him because he was not joking, running straight up the wall. So he's running straight up the wall. Uncle Josh, he ends up getting his character to come in, riding on a flying eagle spirit with a dragon head for a helmet. This wasn't an actual dragon head; it was a dragon head style astral helmet flying in on the side, both of these able to be seen by a camera because they were physical manifestations. All the while, up toward the top where you see Spider running, the orc picks up the cyber monkey who got hit by a paralyzing arrow, climbs over the railing, drops her down to the next level below, and nails the landing down there before getting knocked out by knockout gas. I had 4 dice and I needed 4 hits to succeed that, and I rolled a 100% success because I was just an absolute Chad as a 12-year-old.
Nice. Can I quickly talk about my cyberpunk experience or my Shadowrun experience?
Yes,
Surely
please.
no experience when it comes to Shadowrun.
Me
So
neither.
I had just been watching Rising of the Shield Hero because that had just came out at
Oh
that
my
time.
god, yes.
And so I based my character off of Raftalia. I actually used the I can't remember what the race was, but there's a race where you basically can fully customize it using points. Um, and so I basically made a fully grown adult who was stuck in a childlike raccoon body, like half raccoon, half human. And I took the infinite money glitch of making money my highest priority thing in character creation. So I had the world's most souped out minigun of all time at starting, and but I'm just like this little kid, right? Basically, in terms of like physique. Now, this is one of the examples of me and Robert having great uses to share our characters. Uh, Robert was playing a troll, but the troll was like extraordinarily good at stealth. So our method became I was on his shoulders or back most of the time, and basically being carried around by him. And at one point, I don't remember what we were doing, but basically he stealths past the like guards or whatever and gets behind them, while I'm on his back by like going over rooftops. So half of our party is on one side of this like alleyway. We're on the other side now, and we've boxed these dudes in, and I'm just sitting here on his shoulder again with the world's best ever minigun ready to gun these dudes down. And like I have a height advantage because I'm on top of a 10-foot tall troll. They don't know I'm there. My character has like every form of like enhanced sight and perception possible. I'm using an amazing minigun that gives me a bunch of benefits. So I just mow these dudes apart with my
You're
gun.
Rocket and Grooting it.
Yeah, I was basically a more humanoid Rocket the Raccoon that could just absolutely obliterate people.
And instead of Groot, you had a troll.
Instead of Groot, I had a stealthy troll.
I
Now,
always want to do duo characters
again,
like that too.
we should specify trolls in this system are like giant. They are like 10 feet tall at a minimum.
Not at a minimum, that is actually still tall for troll, but that is
My
not
point is,
nowhere
they're
close to the
big.
tallest they can be. The Okay, so I do want to point out Shadowrun has some amazing lore. The tallest troll ever recorded, this was specified, is about like 11 foot, almost 12 feet tall. But
Whoa.
yeah,
Such an imaginary creature.
But yeah, just picture Raftalia from Rising of the Shield Hero with a super like sci-fi minigun riding on a troll.
Love the idea of just like tiny Raftalia with a minigun.
I'm
Yeah,
looking at
it was
I'm looking
specifically
at
like
Rocket.
child Raftalia.
I'm looking at Rocket from Guardian Galaxy.
Hmm. Now we've talked about horrible experiences. We've talked about great experiences. I think
I got one more.
finally. Oh, yes,
No,
Javi?
I'll wait on mine. I'll wait on mine.
Well, I was actually going to switch topics completely.
Oh, okay.
So if you have something to
Uh,
share now,
Actually, I do. Although it is one that you, Nick, are familiar with. As the biggest horror
We
story
already
that I
talked
can
about
think of in
Ash.
terms of like
If it's Ash, we
it is.
already brought it up.
Ah, okay. Good to know.
yes, I already told the
That was
story of
Nick's one.
Ash.
Well, hot damn. Is that like whose horror story was that one?
That was
Mine.
Nick's horror
I
story.
told that story.
Nice. That was gonna be mine. There is one other one I can think of. Ironically, also involving Ash that you were not involved in.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
No.
How
an
to
entire
know that someone is a
campaign.
problem 101.
Oh yeah. An entire campaign derailed due to this situation. By the way, not just the one that you were in, but then the other one as well. Uh, the one in question was a Syndropsis-based campaign. For those who don't know, it is an entire homebrew world I designed myself because I enjoy world building. And this world was basically just a massive pirate planet, an entire open sea with like maybe 2 continents, and just sprinkled with islands. And at one point, there's a party. I think it's a party of like maybe 3. We're in a they were on a sloop. I can't remember where they were heading, but I know they were heading. Actually, okay, I'm not gonna bother with where because I for the life of me can't remember. But they were heading somewhere, and along the way had spotted a like entire other ship that was in the middle of raiding another, and they decide they want to go help it. So they head up to it. They full on attack. Ash's character was I can't remember exactly. I think he was like a Hather maybe, but all I know is he was fucking massive. Like we're talking
Language,
like
sir,
Shadowrun.
please.
Sorry, he was absolutely massive. We're talking maybe like Shadowrun troll sized. Uh, and this is back in like the early versions of that Tales from Beyond game, which were way more broken than it was like later on. Like it was back when the crit system was grossly unfair. Granted, that part of that is my own fault, but hey, I was first time working on a tabletop, so what are you gonna do?
It's
Point
all
is,
part of the process, my dear
oh
boy.
yeah. Point is, the system was not great, and I quickly learned that when via a single crit, this massive I still can't remember what race his character was, but I just know he was absolutely huge. And he was taken out by one shot. And the problem with that was, due to his size and the size of the boat he was on, also absolutely tiny, his body falling over and going limp completely rocked the entire boat.
Don't
To
you
the
just
point,
love it when you capsize your dinghy
yeah,
because you're too
he
big?
nearly capsized the whole thing. And I just remember at that point, I was absolutely dumbfounded because it was just a crazed like luck of like insane luck in terms of like how well the crit went, or just the fact that he like, landed a crit in the first place. And I realized, number one, the crit system was absolutely broken and needed to be fixed, and number two, that Ash very much did not like it when things did not go his way, as this particular character was designed to be like nigh unkillable. And
Did,
this was the one thing that could have killed him immediately into like the first or second session of the campaign. And I just remember him stepping away and refusing to talk to anyone for like, honestly, it was almost like 2 weeks. And also keep this in mind. In this particular campaign, there was a method for the characters to actively revive each other with no real issue due to the circumstances of the campaign. I am not going to disclose it in case I ever decide to run that kind of campaign again with you guys. Uh, but basically, due to the circumstances, he could have very easily been resurrected. But that one situation, like just the sheer, I guess, cockiness of it that he had, that he could not die, and then immediately getting proved wrong, just threw him off entirely, and we never continued that campaign. It just died from there.
Hmm.
Sounds like Ash deserves it.
Yeah, he kind of did have it coming, given that, like, he did openly brag about how nigh unkillable his character was.
See, that's the thing. That's just karma. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, but I doubt he'll ever see it that way.
Oh, of
There's a
course not.
reason,
This person can't see a
like,
10-foot pole in front of their,
yeah,
existence.
there's a reason why well, that's one of the many reasons why I no longer play TTRPGs with him. And he found out recently that I've been getting back into D&D, and I've actively dreaded it now because every now and then he'll be like, "Oh, if only like our schedules were better, we could
Have
totally
you
be in
ever
a game together."
considered
Mhm.
blocking him?
Yeah.
I have, and the only reason why I haven't is because outside of that, he's an alright guy. I think that it's just in certain circumstances
Do you
he does
actually
it.
do anything with this person outside of tabletop gaming?
Yes, I do. We've done a bit of gaming together from time to time. That and
Is it
also,
worth it?
honestly, with the games that we've
Because every
played,
every time you guys talk about this person, you basically just say me, but infinitely bad.
Yeah.
which means me minus anything good,
You
like
minus anything good and then bad. That is my
and
description
then
of
bad.
Ash.
You minus anything good times 10.
And then bad.
Uh,
So in
but
other
yeah,
words, this is a person I would kill on sight because they're a risk to humanity.
yeah, that's
There
also
are
the big
risks
reason
to.
why I've never bothered to introduce you to him. I
I
just
think if we
realized,
met, it would literally be like in in the movies where there's always an imposter, like a duplicate person, and it's like, oh, what's something only I would know? One of us has to die. It would literally be that. Except
Mhm.
I'm objectively the one that needs to survive.
It's like it's like
yeah,
So it's
if
the Gumby movie. If you've seen the
it,
Gumby movie,
it's like if
yeah,
you, Nick, and and Ash were like
ah yes,
wolves.
me, Nick, and me.
Yeah. If you guys were just wolves and the rest of the party is like sheeps,
We
they're
would
just
actively turn on Crème. On Crème, yes, on Ash.
yeah.
yeah. I feel like
I am
after
slowly becoming everyone because you all keep slipping up and saying me. The Creme everywhere system.
it's
Hey,
Naturally.
always
chat.
it's like that one scene, that little meme with the butterfly. Is this creme?
Is this a creme? You heard it here
Um,
first, folks. The shadow under your bed, that's me. Your dad, that's me. Except, no, because I don't have kids and never will.
still you,
Your
though.
girlfriend, joke's on you. It's not me because
Your
that doesn't exist.
girlfriend rips off Scooby Doo mask, it's me.
Bum bum bum.
but, but we
Having
had
mixed
kids together.
feelings.
It was
That's
me, Austin.
I love that fucking flash meme.
The
Sorry,
childhood bully,
language.
it was me.
goddamn.
So,
Ow.
Samara, do
It
you
was
got
me, Barry.
anything else that you'd like to share when it comes to anything related to tabletop?
What was your other topic going to be?
I will get to that in a moment.
Ah,
Okay, so I will say the thing that here's the thing. Am I have a very special place in my heart when it comes to physically playing D&D. Like having a physical D&D night is something like special, right?
yes.
However, I will say when it comes down to playing a physical D&D, like in-person D&D versus a digital, I would say honestly, I think the digital is where it's more strong. Like it has less weakness, in my opinion, because first of all, if you're like me and sometimes you don't always have time to go over to another person's house, or if you like, for instance, you are also like me and you go to school and you work, you don't really have time to like sit down and like find a group that's near you that you're willing to travel to. So that's where I think things like Roll20 and all these other sites that or games that you can play online too, that are basically making it easier for you to connect with people, I think is honestly a win, and it's a good step in the right direction. Now, do I think everybody should experience at least at one point like an in-person D&D? Yes, because there's like something special about it, right? But I think at the end of the day, I think as long as you find a good group of friends to play with, and you find a good campaign and you feel like you find the right like fit for you, I don't think it really matters where you go as long as you just play and have fun.
Exactly.
I actually would like to add one thing to that, if I may.
Please.
Um, and that is, I actually um, would not be able to play D&D if not for being able to play it online, because none of the people I game with live anywhere near me, not even the same state, and in the case of one member of my Wednesday group, not even the same country. One member
Mm.
in my Wednesday group lives in the Philippines.
Crap.
If not for D&D, I never would have met any of, or not any to say, but like a lot of the people I call friends and game with now.
Such as me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't live anywhere near anyone
Woo!
in this call right now, but I'm very honored to call you guys friends and be able to, actually like hang out and play D&D with you.
Yeah.
And
Gay.
fun
Just kidding.
fact, Samara is the only one that doesn't live in the same town as the other rest of us. That's
The
wicked.
only other one besides creme.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she does live in the same state.
All other people in here live in the same town.
If Samar was willing to run, like I would definitely want to go to Austin just to for her to run a session, you know?
I mean, I'd be willing to make a session for you guys.
Yeah, they all live in the same state. I live in a different state entirely for the time being. That might be changing eventually.
Potentially, yeah.
I
We shall
I will
see.
definitely steal my
Dude,
dad's
I
car
would
and
run
drive
the
all the way over
shit
there.
out of an in-person session or crap. I mean, this
You
is
know,
hard.
we know what you meant. But I'm trying
We
not to
know
get
what you meant.
demonetized off Twitch here.
I'm
To be
sorry,
fair,
Twitch,
so long
don't
as there's nothing
demonetize
within
us.
like the first 30 seconds and you're not doing it like excessively, you should be fine.
All right,
Makes me
no
feel
You can
bad.
excessive.
swear, it's just like certain words you're not supposed. Certain swears, like the C word, you're not really supposed to say.
Oh
No.
no!
The
I
one the
hate that
Australians
word.
love.
Yeah, no, I
Cantaloupe.
would never say that word. You should pay me enough.
I only say that word ironically to my British friends.
Yeah,
And
like
every time
the
you watch the
British and
boys.
the Australians are the ones who really use it
The
the
Brits and
most.
the Aussies
And
love
they
that
use
word.
it, they don't really use it the way that Americans think of it,
Yeah,
especially not the Australians. The Australians, that's basically just part of their dialogue.
it has a different meaning for them in a sense, you know.
Completely. So,
It's about the context.
the next thing I want to talk about is mechanics of a game. From your best knowledge, what is a good mechanics of the game? And lastly, for anyone who is making a game, to talk about it and what their thought processes were for making the mechanics of it. So let's start with let's start with Jebus.
Oh,
Jebus.
mechanics.
Yes, let's stick with that. Jebus.
Um,
Thank you, Nadia.
what?
You know what I mean.
I just heard Nadia, and I was
Thank you,
like,
Nadia.
okay.
So, when it comes to the
Oh,
mechanics of a game, what do you find better? This could be anything that comes to mind. It could be like general mechanics, the general feel of a
like a
game,
good thing or a bad thing about it?
anything you
A
want to
good thing.
say about it, good or bad.
Does it matter what
I
kind of game or?
No,
Tabletop games.
tabletop games specifically.
Okay, sweet.
Can be
well,
specific to D&D or it can be any other type of tabletop.
So, Mr. Jebus, man.
sometimes this happens, not a lot. I don't have very like a I'm not really mad about it or upset. It's just a thing that happens a little bit. Um, when I make a character and like Brent says like, oh, well that doesn't really fit with my character, you know?
We're not talking about like any
It's
people
less of a
interaction with
mechanic
it.
and more like circumstance.
Yeah, let's
Hmm.
stick with mechanics. Like
Okay.
with die
Mechanics and rules.
rolling, character creation, the way characters are made, storytelling a game will imply or enforce.
Or, like how some card game, oh god, we didn't even bring up card games. Like, that's its own, like,
Man, I was
subgenre. That's its own genre of tabletop that we just kind of ignored.
Yeah,
I
Stuff
none
like
of
remember.
us are
Magic the
really card game
Gathering.
players.
Oh, I was for a while.
I
Or-
play
I've,
card
I've
games. I
played
play
a lot
Vanguard
of
and
Magic,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
not by choice.
And
that was
Magic.
fun.
I've
What?
Hmm.
played a lot of Magic, and I hope to never have to go back to it.
I
So,
played, let me see here. I played Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Pokemon, and Vanguard.
I'm one of the few
Yeah.
people that actually knows how to play the Pokemon trading card game.
I know how to play
Me
it because that.
too.
So, funny fact: Bill actually got me into the Pokemon trading card game
Actually,
as a stepping stone to me playing Magic. He
that sounds
taught me Pokemon when I was younger so that I'd be able to understand Magic when I was older.
huh.
I can't think of. I got no problem with the mechanics, I guess.
anything that you like, that you specifically like, anything that stood out to
Um,
you one way or another. Oh, this is starting to look better.
hmm. I like when the card Uno. You just my family just shuts out Uno real loud. That's it.
You know what?
He
Fair
likes
enough.
Uno's main
It's the
mechanic of
best.
saying Uno.
It's the best.
Yeah,
It's the best we're gonna get from Cs.
yeah. and
I
like
mean,
my
to be
mom
fair,
just says Uno
there
and
is
then
a
F you.
satisfaction to shouting Uno.
Oh no! Oh, I know, I love it.
That's
All
funny.
right, Creme, what you got? What you got?
This applies to not just like D&D, but a lot of board games. I like when there's a physical component, like minis, for example. I like having a piece that represents me.
Ah, so good.
And just dice. I think dice are nice. It triggers the little clickety clackety goblin in my brain that wants to collect shinies.
Goblin that wants to be like shiny Nathraks make predicted
Like
attack
for example,
sound.
I actually just bought some dice that are D6s shaped like bullets, and I think they're really cool.
Yep,
Oh, that's awesome.
they are
And they're
awesome.
made of metal, and they're very nice.
I recently found a version of D4s that are not as pointy, meaning you can't use them as caltrops. Uh,
But using D4s as makeshift caltrops is the best
well, no,
multi-purpose
here's the
tool of
thing.
all time.
That's exactly why I want to buy a bunch of metal D4s so I can use as
Metal
encased armor
D4s to
against
just have
caltrops.
caltrops.
All you just need is Lego pieces, and that's it.
No, here's the thing. They probably sell metal D4s that are even more pointy to be used as caltrops.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you could find that.
I
that
have no
reminds me
doubt.
of I can't remember I was watching. There's this old YouTube group where they would do like Nerf gun related stuff. I think it was Battle Universe. And they did a kind of like Nerf D&D thing where they actually set up the squares they were walking on. And for at one point, one of the characters had like a caltrops thing they could use, and they just literally had a bag full of Legos for the caltrops.
Mm.
Nice.
I'm just like that is clever. I
That
like
is.
that.
So,
But
Javi, is
yeah,
there any mechanics that you've seen in games that you really liked or really disliked?
I have one minor gripe about the sleight of hand mechanic in D&D, and that is that it's not used to do more.
Mm,
I will say that is a 5e issue. A lot of issues with skills in general were better in like 3.5.
Like
Pathfinder.
as an
Pathfinder
example,
3.5.
yeah, like
5e just kind of made skills a lot worse.
yeah,
I
Both in
fully agree.
you know, how you're proficient in them and what they actually do.
I'm not as
yeah.
big a fan of D&D 5e as I am of like Pathfinder, but 5e is so easy to get into. I'll honestly play that, and
I
it's
like
still
5e
fun.
for its
I've
accessibility.
been with good enough DMs that
It's
like
very
value it
accessible.
enough. Like for example, one DM in a campaign I'm actually in that's ongoing. Um, he likes to do a thing where instead of AC you have like defensive rolls, and through it he actually gave AC a very big, or not AC, but a very gave sleight of hand a very big use, as that would be what you would mainly use for parrying.
Mm.
I also think sleight of hand is very good for feigning as well.
Yes, I do like that.
Because
One
that's
other
something that I've
thing,
also enjoyed in like combat.
yeah, one thing that I've used very commonly throughout other campaigns I've been in, whenever DMs allow it, is to use sleight of hand to try to hide whenever I'm casting spells. As like rules is written, that kind of would fit the bill for what you would do. You're trying to like hide a particular gesture with that you're doing with your hands.
Ah, so good, so good. That
But yeah,
is another really amazing point. Anything else you want to say there, or was that pretty much it?
that was the biggest thing in terms of like of everything else. I think that like other mechanics I'm very satisfied with. I will say I do like how mechanically you're able to adjust D&D and most of the tabletops for that matter into whatever you need it to be. That's why there's so much variation. Like you have different systems for different modules and different like actual TTRPGs that have varying ways to kind of recreate all kinds of stuff. Like um
You can
they're
tell
like
any story you want to through tabletop roleplay.
oh yeah, I think that's just an intrinsic thing to tabletop like TTRPGs in general that you're able to tell any story you want with what they have. And if they don't have anything that works with it, you can always homebrew. Just the fact that it's so modular in the sense that you can adjust it and recreate it any way you really need to.
The best game I've found you can do that with so far is Savage Worlds.
I
That
know that there's
is
also
I
systems
have
that are
still yet to
specifically
play Savage
designed
Worlds,
to
although I've
be
heard many very
that as
like
well.
that
yeah,
is Savage Worlds. It is literally designed to fit whatever setting you want. Fantasy, sci-fi,
I
horror.
think the fate system is also designed that way, if I'm thinking, remembering right.
I've never actually played Fate.
I haven't either, but I believe it is another one that is like designed to be a extremely flexible, you know, all-encompassing system.
Wonderful, wonderful. Samara,
There we go. Uh oh. Did we lose? Did we
Mm,
lose her? Oh, there she is.
I'm here. Um,
any mechanics that stood out to you one way or another as good or bad?
Not really. I would just probably say, what was previously said, which was, the cool thing with D&D and just really a lot of just tabletop in general. If there is, like, for instance, like one of my favorite games to play, I love Shadow Realms. Mostly the story and just like the different things you can create with it are just so awesome. But at the same time, you have the opportunity if it's like it doesn't really fit with the aesthetic that you're looking for. You can always take those same mechanics and twist it into something else. Like for instance, like Jesus, I'm gonna keep going about this one Naruto and or, tabletop, but the fact that like he was like I'm still in awe because like as somebody who's now DM'd, it's so hard to sit there and spend this time to understand the mechanics that you're wanting to use that are going to best fit the story that you want to outline and then turn it into something completely different, but still have the same rules where it's easy to understand and all of it. But it's that creativity that goes into it that I just really really enjoy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Do you have any like negatives or cons about any system you've seen, rules you've seen in play?
Jesus Christ, power hungry DMs. That's the only mechanic. I feel like there should be a checks and balances. There are some DMs out there. You know who you are. We know who you are. We are
we're
Here's
currently
the thing:
we're
following
some
you
of
to
them
your
don't know who
residence
they are.
or job. Like, you know
we're
who
looking
you
at you
are.
through your screen right now.
Exactly. I
You
can
know what?
sense you.
One thought that terrifies me to this day that I refuse to ever let like myself wind up in that predicament. Um, there was one point where I think back when I was still running Tales from Beyond stuff, and Ash had offered to attempt DMing at one point, and I just flat out I didn't want to flat out say no. Maybe I'm just too nice. But I did give a valid reason as to why he wouldn't be able to, and I mentioned that there's a lot of stuff in the systems that he is not comfortable running, and that it takes a lot more than just having a couple ideas to be a DM.
And that's
At
why
least,
I don't DM, because I like cannot muster the brain power. But if I was able to make myself do it, I would be willing to run your system. I just don't think I make a good DM.
Another
So,
problem that I have
go
with
ahead.
Javi has Javi. You need to create an actual rule book instead of just having all the rules for you.
that's what I'm trying to work on.
So,
Actually, I'm currently
okay,
redesigning a
He's
Javi,
lot.
working on it.
I'm going to
For
give
now,
you.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, so as somebody who has created an entire world, um,
Oh, well,
it's a
world building
lot
I can do
like
no problem. It's designing the actual game
It's
mechanics I'm
official
struggling.
rules that's his
no,
problem.
no. I know. Let me finish my thought,
Okay,
please.
sorry, go ahead.
Um, no, it's all good. So what I was saying is that when you're creating a game that has certain mechanics that you want, because as somebody who had to sit down for hours and figure out the mechanics and how exactly I was going to play this to make it fair and not drag on, um, I later turned it into the game I'm working in. But originally, it started out as just a regular D&D campaign, and I took the rule book from I think it. God, I gotta look. But the whole point is that I sat there and rewrote the entire mechanics, but I actually wrote it in a book, like in a spiral, and then I tried to match them up. So the best way sometimes that helps is sitting there and like actually looking at the rule book and then like I would make a line and be like, okay, so this is what it is. Like for instance, how I wanted magic to work with technology, there was like, okay, so instead of it being magic, like healing magic, it's going to be based off of potions, which is alchemy, and I have to do this whole mechanic to make it make sense. And you sit there and you just brainstorm, and sometimes it takes a whole day, but even just getting that on pen and paper in a physical form helps like 1,000,000%.
Yeah. I think that just the
So
problem is it's something that you really have to like learn as you go along, because no information you receive will ever compare to just actually having the experience with a lot of things, honestly. Uh,
exactly.
and and I've only like I'm someone who's only barely as far as like the world building, I've had years to like get better with writing stories, but when it comes to actually writing like mechanics for a game or developing mechanics for a game, I'm just still so new. Even though like I've maybe been working on it for I want to say 2 3 years now, and it's
Hmm.
still like there's a lot of things that still slip past me. It also probably doesn't help that I'm like a very scatterbrained kind of person. Um, so sometimes things just slip past my radar.
So, if
Well,
I may,
and
one
those
thing you
that's
should
when
keep.
that's why I'm saying like sit down and like really I'm like creating the game world is the easy part. It's
No,
just sitting
yeah.
there and coming up with mechanics is going to be the hard part. Then focus on that. So it's like, okay, I have my story fleshed out, I have everything else set up. So now I can focus on, the hard stuff, which is like, okay, so how is this going to, seamlessly flow in battle, and how is this going to be fair? And it, like I said, it takes time. It's not a like a one and done. Like I didn't become a DM for years. Like the very first time I DM'd a game was a nightmare. I did a Pokemon D&D. I will never do that again, ever.
Oh, that
You
sounds
cannot
awful.
pay me enough. Oh, it was
The mechanics
horrible,
for the Pokemon thing is
horrible.
fucking
So
nonsense.
how I did it was that everyone only had started out with one Pokemon, and even that was a nightmare because the thing is that there was like looking through the sheets and upon sheets of Pokemon that had different types of move sets, and this Pokemon can learn this, but this one couldn't. And if this one was a male, this one could learn this, but if it's a female, it can't.
Oh yeah,
It
there's
can
just
learn
a
this, or you
lot.
have a certain type of. Oh my god! I thought I was gonna die. Like I literally was like, I bit off more than I could chew. So instead, I scrapped that D&D and I made what would later become my alter game. I basically took all the mechanics from every traditional like D&D that I've ever played. I played Shadow Realms, I played Savage Worlds, and I played regular D&D. So I sat there and I was like, okay, I want to take all three of these worlds with the mechanics they have and blend it seamlessly into my own thing. And that took me months to do because, I mean, for instance, like the Shadow Realms, personally, I think, my opinion, the Shadow Realms skills, I think, are the easiest mechanics to learn. Personally, that's just me. I think it's the easiest. Some people think it's another one. Like some people think it's Savage Worlds. It doesn't really matter, but I personally think Shadow Realms is the easiest skill mechanic. But the thing is that I wanted something that was more like traditional D&D, where it was like, God, how do I explain it?
Skill ranks in like 3.5 and Pathfinder.
Exactly. So sitting
Yeah,
here
that's
and
always
like
been my thing is being able to upgrade the skills according to how like your actual proficiency in it, not just I'm good at it.
exactly, because that way
Accurately
it
reflecting
builds.
experience.
Exactly. And it forces you to sit there and go, okay, you know what? If I really want to learn this skill, I'm going to have to work for it. Whereas in other ones, it's like, oh, you want this skill? You got to reach this level. Boom, you're done. And I
Well,
didn't, I didn't like
yeah.
that. I felt like that was too easy. And maybe that's the sadist in me. I don't know.
Well,
But the
here's an
point
example.
is that,
I think with
yeah,
like Tales from Beyond, I bit off a bit more than I can chew in the sense that I wanted to have like a massive plethora of like customization and such to the point where like maybe this is a bit naive or stupid. I don't. I'll let you guys decide. But I wanted to have a lot of customization without the need for any type of class-based system.
And that is doable, but it is a structure that most people are not accustomed to.
yeah,
One
I
thing
will
I will
never
say that
forget
I
my
meant to say
character.
earlier, you've got to remember you don't have to do it alone. When it comes to writing up like mechanics, it can be easier to source help from those around you. And honestly, I volunteer because I have a lot of experience playing a lot of different systems that some of them didn't even use like D20s. I've played systems that used 3D6 to determine everything.
GURPS, Champions, those are 3D6 games.
See, I think
Mine was a
also
Dragon
like
Age system
the
actually.
biggest mistake that I made is I didn't really think to try to surround myself with people that were more experienced than I was in this kind of thing. And the few people that I did, I would argue I now that I'm like with the benefit of hindsight, I did not make the best choices. So
I
a-
am here.
and the biggest like thing about that is I think that also killed a lot of my desire to keep going. But now that I've like been getting back into D&D, I've been like figuring out I've actually been playing more of the systems, getting reaccustomed to it. I think that I want to give it a second shot. I want to throw my hat into the ring again, see if I can do it better this time. And I'm thinking I may start by building everything again from the ground up. I might actually try to scrap not everything, but at least a lot of the things that just I could not figure out, and see if just starting over fresh might make it easier.
Maybe fresh. We can make new characters again.
As long as I'll be able to play that shitty fanfic vampire demon, I am down.
I mean, here's the
Um,
thing. Considering
And
I
Javi, you
still
still owe me
very
the
much
character
enjoy
you and I came up with.
hand. Wait, what?
You still owe me the character that I came up with.
That is
You know the
correct.
one.
I remember.
I
Uh,
will say, oh,
but
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, that was pretty much it. Like I think that now that I've kind of got a better head on my shoulders in a sense, and now I've got people that I can actively rely on to help me with this. I think that's the other problem. Like the main, like I, this is a very this is not going to make me look very good in terms of my decisions, but to put it in perspective, the only person I really had for a lot of like the development of the TTRPG that I've made, Tales from Beyond, I effectively did it all myself because the only one who quote unquote helped was Ash, and all he did was help organize information, which I will say he did very good with. Aside from that, I was effectively on my own, which
All by
probably was not
yourself.
the best arrangement.
And like I said, Avi, I'm more than happy to help you organize and create new stuff. Just shoot ideas to me. I will give what I have. If you just shoot things at me, and I will
If
shoot
I can
back.
just like, if I can just
Shoot him
have
and he will
people that
shoot
I
you.
can, if
You,
I,
yeah, he'll
yeah,
shoot you.
Just-
But
I
no, but
like
like
finding maps.
Javi,
yeah.
know that there's many people here. Like we all support each other. I mean, look at Nick over here. By the way, Nick, I'm gonna shoot you a pic. I'm working on Zaki. I'm almost done with yours, Javi. I'm gonna finish up with your art
Okay.
tomorrow, but I'm just taking a break because
Yes,
the metal works is just
Oh yeah. And
wow.
like I said,
Zaki.
here's the thing. I told you to take your time, and I meant it. I know that
Oh,
like
you're very
the
sweet.
best of things, like it takes time. I'd rather like I don't want to
It's
rush
done.
you because I know that it ends up ruining the like how it turns out in the end. And I don't know. I feel like this is something that I'm willing to wait for regardless. I literally won't be able to do the campaign that I'm going to use them in for a while anyway because I'm going to be out of town for a while and I may not be able to do any sessions with them. So literally, you've got like plenty of time. So I'm in no rush.
Yeah, I
All good.
also work on my own game while I'm doing this. So Nick, for instance, like he wants to voice one of the characters very badly, which is Zaki, which I just posted. I'm almost done with his outfit and stuff. I'm almost done with like his basic sketch. It's in the art thing for Council of Ben, so you may look there.
Uh,
But yeah, like
yeah.
I mean, at the same time, like I'm always building onto my world, but the thing is that it's good to start out with just a basic platform. Think of it like you're building a house, right? What
Oh
is
yeah.
the
It needs
first thing
it
you
needs
need
to
to do?
have a good foundation.
Exactly. So instead of thinking about, of course, think about the game world and the characters and all that, but you want to first thing you want to take. into consideration before you do anything else. And this is what I had to do with my game that I'm working on now, because I had to turn my game, which was originally a TRPG that I wrote up, which one day I would love to DM for y'all. That would be so much fun. But
Please.
yeah, it's actually I gotta find the book, but I would totally DM it. I would have to convert everything into D20 or into Roll 20, but it that's a whole other thing. But the point is that it's very hard to take a TRPG and turn it into a game. So I had to do the exact same thing you're doing, which is I had to sit here and think of what was the mechanic, how was the gameplay going to work, and I had to think of like a basis to work with. So for instance, do the same thing I did. So I decided that the gameplay mechanic I'm going to do is basically Earthbound, which is a very simplistic RPG style, but I'm going to add my own flavor to it. So what it is basically, how to explain it? It's your basic character portrait, like in a dungeon crawler game, but I'm gonna put animations into it and a lot more character and music and stuff. But at the same time, it's that same base. It's a very simplistic design because that way it's gonna be easy for people to approach it and it's not gonna be super complicated. And that's the same thing you want to do is you want to find a good basis that's going to be easy to pick up, and then later on down the line you can tweak it and go, okay, so this is how it's going to work. So for instance, for your TRPG, from what you've told me and like a little bit, I mean, I haven't heard the whole thing, but from the little bit I've heard, it sounds like a good basis would be some one of the do one of the older systems from D&D, one of the more traditional ones, and then tweak it to best fit your style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just
Yeah, give us Thaco.
God, no, please. I will never play your game if it has Thaco.
What is that?
He doesn't know
Ah,
what
my
Thaco is.
dear summer child.
Okay, so tell him what it stands for.
Fucking, I don't even remember. What is it? Two hit AC? Two hit armor class? What's the O stand for?
I don't remember what the O stands for. I was hoping
I'm
you would
looking up
remember.
what Thaco stands for. Oh, two hit armor class 0, I think is some. Is that it? I don't know. Thaco. It should say something that even I don't remember what the hell it means.
oh my god.
Oh
Two
no, I
hit
did. I
Let me
was
or
right.
Google
It's
it.
two hit armor
Let me
class 0.
dictionary
I
it.
was right.
Yeah.
That's
Don't
exactly
ever,
what it means.
don't ever incorporate that into your games, Javi. That is one thing you do not want to touch. Don't ask
Okay,
why.
Don't
Just
do
I'm
trust
it.
just
us.
gonna send a screenshot of the
Just from the way
chart for
you're
Thaco.
talking about it, I can assume it's already probably not a good
All right.
idea.
Check the Power Wash chat. You will see what Thaco looks like.
Okay.
I'm gonna hate this.
I am afraid.
By the way, Nick, did you see Zaki's outfit and stuff? Or I mean, his bases so far?
Not yet. I'm gonna go ahead and look at that.
Yeah, I'm
He
working on
looks
it right now.
so douchey.
Oh
He is
yeah.
gonna be
You
very
also
beefy.
you also should hear about the I don't remember if it's called
God, it
Rollmaster
looks
or
complicated.
Chartmaster, but it's a system where every single thing is done on a chart, like a D100 chart.
Ugh.
It is horrible.
I don't have the patience to make a chart for everything, so I probably won't be doing that.
Fair
Yeah,
enough. Fair enough.
They do it.
I'm not saying
Convert
you
like
should.
Okay, we.
no, just like do
We got
put like
mass.
an out like the best thing you can do, and this is something my dad taught me. If you want to make something amazing, you don't need to do it all in one sitting. Take 1 hour of your day and slowly build it. Literally best advice I've gotten. So instead of sitting there for 6 hours and working on something, do it break it into bite-sized bits so that way you take some time and you don't overwhelm yourself. So you take an hour of your day and spend it on that. And then that way, if you have more time, you can come back to it and go, you know what? I want to tweak this a tiny bit, but don't allow yourself to rewrite it completely. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
that way you
I
don't
don't
like put
remember.
a lot of effort into something and then scrap it all because you don't like it. You know what I mean?
fair.
I'm gonna try and look this up, but I think there's an author who is very famous for writing very well written books that are very long. I think he only writes like a sentence a day.
Yeah,
his name is Edward
and
Allan Poe.
that's the whole thing. It's learning how to break everything into bite-sized chunks because that way you learn you don't overwhelm yourself, but you're also not you don't overwhelm yourself, but you don't burn yourself out at the same time. You know what I mean? Because the last thing you want to do is put all this effort into something that you just have so much heart and soul into, and then you come back to it a day later and realize, oh my god, I don't like this, and then you start over from scratch, and it's like all this work, and it overwhelms you. You know? That's just me.
It's like, yeah, it kind of sucks when you're working on a project you really like enjoy, and then suddenly you realize something that isn't working right, and then uh everything caves in because you're like the one person working on it. You got no one to rely on to help you with it, and then suddenly your entire drive that you had is just gone. Which that was effectively what was going on for me for a while.
I have no idea
Yeah,
what
so just
happened to me in play and battle games. Then
literally every like best advice for any, and this includes anybody listening too. If you want to be a creator, somebody that draws or does animation or video game design or even making a table RPG, the best advice I can give you is devote a little bit of your time. It doesn't even have to be an hour. It can just be 30 minutes. Like I for me, like I'm maybe, one day I'll post my art through this podcast. I mean, I'm be doing something for Nick. He wants me to do like a cover, like what is that called?
it's going to be the
Uh,
cover of the Podwash Powercast. This is going to
yes.
be
So
specific art for this podcast. It's going to be amazing. I already have high hopes
yes,
for it. It is
and
going to be the greatest art to ever be made for Power Wash Simulator in the existence of ever.
yay. Oh well, you're doing too kind now. But the point is
I'm
that
trying to
like
pressure you.
I know it's all. I'm excited. I accept the challenge. Remember I said I'm a sadist.
That
Fishing
sounds more
for
like
the
a
I will
ultimate
say,
sweet.
masochist.
It's where a
Yes.
oh,
masochist.
I am a
Sadist
Sadist
sadist.
is
is
one
liking
who
So I
other
mean,
inflicts
people's
inflicting
pain.
pain.
Masochist is liking your own.
okay, well, can't I be both?
Yes, you
Yes, you
can.
can.
Yes, but just it's the context of which word you use.
Okay, well, I do. I'm both. Anyway, the point is that
Samarra's not a
like
masochist. She
I
just wants to see what she can handle.
yes,
That's kind of what
but the
masochists
thing,
do, but
That's
moving on.
that's pretty much what
It's a
masochists do.
Markiplier joke. Come on,
oh my
you should know
god.
this.
Oh,
Okay, moving on.
it like slipped my mind.
Frickers.
I didn't get the
Oh
joke.
my god.
Whatever. Let's move on.
Okay, so the point is that anybody who's wanting to learn how to be creative or anything like that, I used to suck, and I mean suck at drawing. I've never taken professional art lessons. Nobody ever taught me how to draw. Your girl, literally, if anybody out there, you remember Super Smash Brothers Melee, and they had the little trophies on Super Smash Brothers Melee. I learned how to draw drawing those. Literally, I want to find my art
Wow.
one day. I think I have it somewhere. It is hideous, hideous. Oh my god, the way I used to draw Princess Peach is, oh, but it's good because I literally would every day I would sit in front of my GameCube, boot up Super Smash Brothers Melee, not play the game, but just boot up the trophies. And then at the same time, I also watched. I love Pokemon, so I watched a lot of Pokemon. I learned how to draw the Pokemon. Literally, you devote yourself every day to a small bite-sized piece, and you learn to better yourself. And like literally, so for me, when I was a young kid, I used to devote myself every day. I'd force myself to draw one Pokemon, just one, and it had to be. And I wanted to do the best that I could, and then I would leave it at that. I wouldn't do anything else. I would that was my task for the day, and then I would go play video games or hang out with friends or whatever. So it's the same thing to anybody out there who's wanting to do creative things. Just bite-sized pizzas. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't burn yourself out because then you'll just end up hating it. And then it's the reason why a lot of people quit doing anything that has to do with art or creation or anything because they're overwhelmed by the skills that they see. Also, another thing, never look at anybody else's art while you're learning how to draw. Everyone has a different style. Everyone has a different way of doing things. Don't compare yourself to people that have been doing it for like 50 years because they are going to be better than
Yeah,
you.
it's not really a fair comparison.
Unless you're looking at the instructions how to draw.
Yeah, but that's the thing I had to teach myself and learn how to do was stop comparing myself to everybody else. There is a lot of people out there that are much better artists than I am, even to this day. But I'm not going to sit here and compare myself because first of all, I have a I have a certain style of drawing and doing whatever. So, it might not fit the style that they like. But everyone has a different style. Even like one of the people that we hang out with in chat, I tell them all the time, like, your art style is just as cool as mine. I think it's just as neat. I don't, even if you do nothing like besides just draw one certain type, if you learn how to be really good at that type, then kudos to you.
Hell
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Yeah.
Ow.
This was a huge tangent from
Tan- Yeah.
talk about game mechanics that you like or dislike. So,
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
can I
Cool.
can I have my turn now?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I'm
Go
so
ahead.
sorry.
I mean like everyone went like hardcore, just
I just had to hear it.
It's a thing we're very passionate about.
Okay, I'm gonna
See,
mute
this
my.
is why I'm meant to be the co-host. Everyone else is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I just say no.
so
All I said was Uno.
No.
so this is one that I haven't heard a lot of talk about either way outside of just this podcast. I haven't heard anyone in this specific group say anything along these lines, but I have mixed feelings for both these systems. Now, these are going to be systems of play not necessarily like RPG, not that general, but more specific. Specifically, it pertains to TTRPGs and the way characters will be dealt with. This is level based versus skill based. I have my gripes about both. Level based, it feels almost as if you get everything all at once because you do. You level up, you get your abilities next, hit points increase. Boom! Congratulations, son. You're better now. But in a skill based game, it's a much more slower progression. D&D versus Shadowrun is my favorite example to give. Shadowrun being skill based, D&D being level based. You gain with D&D, you gain a certain number of XP, then you hit the next level, and boom, you get abilities. Maybe an increase to a skill. 5e, you increase your proficiency bonus if you hit the certain landmarks. And ASI to increase attributes. It's very cookie cutter, and that's how level based generally just tends to be. But it also feels very satisfying to be able to, you know, just boom, level one and done, level up and done, and now you're stronger, and you can see immediate progression. While skill based, it's very slow. You gain certain XP, you get some XP, and then as you see fit, level up your skills and stats. You don't have specific things that you have to wait for, but it also doesn't easily allow some of the more fun aspects of games like level based does, such as having a class.
I actually played a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure tabletop system that was skill-based progression.
All right, let's immediately change the subject.
I was just bringing up a relevant case because I don't actually have as much experience with skill-based progression, but that was one that I have played that I was familiar with
Yeah,
and handled it very well.
I don't. I honestly don't know which one I prefer, level based or skill based. In level based, with D&D, we have one of my favorite things ever to come out of fifth edition: unarmored defense for both monks and barbarians. And I know monks have always had this, but for barbarians, it was so unique to finally play naked and use a big heavy weapon and just smack the shit out of everything. This leads to one of my favorite characters, Khalid. May you rest in peace, you crazy son of a bitch. But skill based also just feels more rewarding in the long run because you feel that sense of slow progression, and once you finally get there, it's so satisfying. And I've played a system that actually combines both. It's a level based system and a skill based system at the same time. Skill based systems generally tend to be more deadly and more you can get one shot than level based systems. Uh, and this one is no different. This is Savage Worlds.
Hmm.
You can get very easily one shot in Savage Worlds if the stars align. but it's also
Refuses to put points into health.
there
Refuses to elaborate further.
there is no health. There's wounds.
Ah, yeah, wounds. You know what I meant.
Yeah, I know, but you can't actually
Refuses
increase
to
that.
make myself able to withstand attacks.
But yeah, this is not this is an art like I said, this is an argument I haven't heard a lot of people comparing level based and skill based. And just I've never been able to have a deep conversation about the differences. So it's kind of saddening that people don't talk about it that
Well,
much.
actually,
I think it's
you
because
make a
skill
touche
based
when
ones
you
are just
doing
rarer for tabletops.
hmm.
Like I said, I've played a lot of systems, and that is the type of system I have the least experience with. I feel
Oh,
video games do that more often than actual tabletops.
Huh? I never knew
that's
that.
actually a good
Because
point.
there's a lot of like RPG video games that do that. Um, and like you don't always think about it, but you know, that is a thing to consider. For example, you and I've been playing Sticks. In Sticks, it's a skill progression game.
Yes, it is actually.
One that's very infamous that most people don't necessarily associate with it is the Souls games. They do have a level, but the level is just reflective of how many skill upgrades you have done.
That's actually how Savage Worlds does it.
Because every time you put a point into a skill, it increases your level, but the level is just reflective of how many total times you've upgraded your skills from the base starting number.
I hadn't thought about that. Huh.
Yep. Well, since we
That
have
that gives me a couple ideas actually.
talked about that, I think coming up on 3 hours, we should get into the final part of this. The one that I wanted to save to the end is a couple of us are actually making tabletop games. I don't know about Jesus. I don't know
No.
about Crème. I don't know about Samarra. But I do know me and Javi are.
Yes.
So if anyone has anything relevant to point out, then jump in whenever you feel like it and do not tangent. I will kill you
Good luck.
instantly with this power washer.
Just like, do not tangent. I will whack you with the no-no stick.
I will bonk you with my baseball bat.
I
Uh,
will kill you. Good luck.
yeah, I will kill you. Good luck. So, Javi,
Yes.
what are you working on any tabletop games aside from Tales from Beyond?
No, although I am working on a conversion so that I could at least in the meantime run it as a module for D&D. But now that I've kind of been more like I've had more experience and I've been thinking more about it and I've started to kind of get that sense of like desire to keep going, like reinvigorated. I I think I'm going to focus again just on full having Tales from Beyond be its own thing because I think that is where I enjoy it the most. Like just converting stuff over, it feels too like I don't know. I don't know how to explain. Like it doesn't
It
feel
feels like you have
right.
to sacrifice your artistic integrity.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
In
Like
Tales from
something
Beyond, I
like
can't play
uh,
a demon vampire warrior mage in D and
like
D.
yeah, like in D&D you can't really do that. In Tales from Beyond you absolutely can
Oh hell
because
yeah!
I think that as long as you have the appropriate like with the way that with character creation, the way I did it is you have a set currency at the beginning, which I refer to as fate. And as long as you don't spend past that, or unless your DM could then decide how much fate you would have for particular campaign, and as long as you don't breach the amount, you could do in theory pretty much whatever you want.
Yep.
Uh, but
So can you
yeah, and
can you
like
share with us some of your thought processes when it came to making that game? What inspired you? What what obstacles did you run into?
honestly, the biggest obstacles I've had where it was just in the development part. Like the story wise, I knew where what I wanted everything to be. I knew that I wanted the mechanics to be reflective of the story I had designed, and I think I got pretty close in regards to like what I had done. I think that where I had like kind of misstepped here and there was in translating it over from just effectively a set of stories into an interconnected world that was themed around like or that had this game themed around it. Like for example, one big slip up that I had a while back that didn't go noticed for a while was a type of damage that I had that I hadn't seen any other game attempt doing, which was tick damage, where basically upon getting hit with certain types of attacks that deal tick damage, you would then have a chance to then take subsequent hits from that effect. And beforehand, which on paper, like, it's absolutely terrifying, given the right circumstances. And it was even more so at one point where I had realized that tick damage behaved in such a way that you could stack enough negative effects on a particular individual to the point where just the sheer number of the debuffs would kill them. Uh, I've tweaked it a lot since then, and that's gonna be one of the things I'm gonna try to start over from scratch. As I still don't feel like I've been able to adjust it to the point where I feel like it's balanced, or at the very least usable without it being obscenely broken. And because of that, I feel like I don't know. Like a lot of it just boils down to me being new at creating games, and that's one of the bigger things I struggled with. I think that and the stat system have been the biggest problems and challenges that I've had trying to figure out. But I think I'll give it another go to see if I can what I can do to figure it out. Also, one sec, I'm getting a call.
All right, I am
Now,
very
Nectar.
excited for him to continue on with Tales from Beyond because what I saw so far,
I just hope he
I
comes to us
liked
for
it.
help
Me too. Me
because I
too.
want to help.
So do I. So
I feel like you and I are very good resources for like this type of stuff.
I like finding maps and images of characters. That's it.
Yeah, I like having a visual representation of things in tabletops.
oh yeah. Well, I kind of do want to share my side of things with two games I'm actually working on, both inspired from other things that I have experienced. So, the first one I ever made was, in fact, uh, battle games. And this is actually, I like to tell this story. This is kind of funny of how I created that game. So, I was browsing YouTube and I came across some Lego videos and I thought, oh yeah, Lego. And I watched some of them. I got to stop motion and stuff. Saw a little Lego animation, and then I remembered, huh? Didn't they try to make tabletop games? There was that Minotaur game. There was
Oh
Heroica.
yeah, I actually owned a couple of them, but I could never actually play them because I just wanted to mess around with the Legos.
Hell yeah! But the one that I found most interesting was Heroica. I liked the story that went with it because it was basically just Lego D&D. And then I actually looked at how the game was actually played, and it was so dumbed down and simplistic that it was literally just choose which character you looked the best, and then run through a mission and keep rolling dice until you finally manage to get to the end. I wasn't a huge fan of that. The different characters was the knight, the wizard, the barbarian, the druid, uh,
There was a ranger.
and a ranger, a thief. There was no difference with any of them aside from what they looked like, and in the little animations that were there of them, uh, how they acted, what their personalities were, their voice actors. But aside from that, it was literally just they're exactly the same, but they look a little different. Uh,
Yeah, Heroica like seemed promising, but it didn't really have a lot when you actually played it. And I know because I had a bunch of the sets of it.
and so I went ahead and tried to do that, and I thought maybe I'll complexify it just a little bit. You know, add actually add classes. And so I went and I made the warrior, the wizard, the barbarian, the druid, and the thief. And then eventually I made the ranger. And then eventually after that I made the holy knight and the death knight. And before I knew it, I was making an entirely new game. And that turned into battle games. For the two who have played it, what do you guys think?
The little I did play, I will say was very entertaining. It was very like it was easy to kind of figure out. There were certain things that you hadn't really realized were insanely powerful, like the barbarian with the spear.
Yeah, the
Um,
two spears. I'm removing that, but
Damn.
your guy can still do it
Hell
because you
yeah.
discovered it.
I liked being a druid.
Yeah, he was a sexy druid.
hmm
Of course he was.
I had a barbarian with two spears, and that
Wow, so
should not
surprised.
have gone should not have gone as well as it did.
Yeah, that was broken. Very broken. The ability of
Because
the
like
spear is when an enemy walks into melee with you, you can make an attack with that spear. And I didn't account for not dual wielding spears. So he figured out, well, I can dual wield spears. Because Javi was trying this on his own, he made multiple characters. So he got a barbarian dual wielding spears. So if someone ever walked into melee with him, willingly or not, if they were pushed into melee with him, he would make two attacks against them. There's very little hit points in this game. It's very deadly. And
I should say there that's why D&D has things like you can only take one reaction, and
yes,
things like forced movement does not count for
or
sake
like
of
opportunity
triggering
attacks.
effects like that.
yes, I am aware. I didn't do that, and at this point, I still haven't. But I found other ways to nerf it without nerfing it into the ground and making it too weak by not imposing those disadvantages, but also not giving too many ways to break it, like with the two spears. But he went a step further than that. Not only did going into melee with his barbarian result in you being attacked twice, one of the members of his party was a thief, and one of the thief's abilities was to make someone walk in a direction of their choice,
I
of
am
the user's
directly into
choice.
my comrade's spears, please.
Yeah, that is exactly what he did. You killed three very powerful enemies just by doing that. By having your thief spend a point of mana, walk an enemy in a melee with the barbarian, and the barbarian proceeds to immediately get skewered through both his lungs simultaneously.
Still remember just absolutely destroying one dude with the barbarian. You're like, okay, how are you doing this? Just you were just the
Can you
sheer
stop?
like, ah, damn it, just in your voice.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, that character specifically will be the only one ever allowed to dual wield spears ever again.
Hell
But I'm
yeah.
not removing the ability to attack someone for walking into melee with you, whether it was forced or not, because the thief will still benefit from something like that. And while the thief isn't able to use spears, the thief has allies who can, and so it's a little extra teamwork. It makes the dream work and everything.
I love mechanics like that where you actually can use your abilities to set up cool elaborate maneuvers.
Yeah, and then it makes you feel like you're actually working with your party. In this case, it was just me, but still, like, had that been other people, I that would have been very satisfying to feel like we had an actual tactic that was proven and worked. You know,
But yeah,
I mean,
and Jesus, what did you think of battle games? The few times you played.
Um, druid. No. Um, it was nice. I liked playing with CJ and Brent. It was just kind of
you get to
like
play with
a
people.
yeah. I played with people.
Lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm actually very down to run you guys through some battle games if you want.
it's very easy mechanics. You can just do it like right away. It was kind of nice because I don't have to worry about like making a character because characters are already made.
I actually did add more character customization, but I think it's still
Damn it! Why
very
you have to
easy
ruin it?
to do it because the default will be human. You can just make a character as easily like that. But if you want to choose a different race, I did add more races. and they are kind of cool. And the game is, I didn't complicate the game anymore. It's still exactly the way it was as you remember it. It's just now you can
Mhm.
choose something to represent what you are before you choose your class. Also,
The one
to
like
update
thing
on
I'll let
you
you finish. Go
guys,
ahead.
I did add variable damage.
Ooh.
Yeah, damage was stagnant in the alpha test.
That much I remember. I think it's also what made the double spear thing so effective.
Yes. Now it can be more or less deadly. Depends on the role. What were you gonna say, Javi?
So horrifying. Um, I was gonna say one thing that I don't think you had previously, but that I would love to see implemented into battle games. Uh, I can't. I'm trying to remember. Did you have anything kind of like firearms in it, or no?
No, there are no firearms at the point in time of that game.
Okay, understandable. Uh, I don't know why, but just like the a big like a way to immediately get me interested in like in a particular class or in a particular game. I just love the concept and execution, just the sheer idea of shooting magic out of guns, and I don't know why.
As it
That
combines the two thing a lot of people love: magic
Well, I
and
do have a game
guns.
for you.
I just love the idea of just like some kind of Western vibe kind of dude fanning the
Oh
hammer and
yeah.
shooting out fireballs. Well, not actual fireball, like fire bolts, I guess would be the better terms for like D&D.
Shooting out some type of funny juice of magic.
Yeah,
So, you want to play Carbon Pink?
I mean, yes.
Will you run it? Because you can have an NPC to do that right from the get go.
Yeah, only problem is, like, from what I've experienced from DM to player, it's a very different feeling when you have an NPC do it versus when you have a player do it, or when you as a player do it. It's just very different feelings in my mind.
I was trying to
Like,
bribe you to run it because I don't want to run it. I want to play it at some point.
uh,
But
Well, no,
fair
you
enough.
do
Never.
want to run it. You just
I,
also want to play it.
I would have to learn the system
Fair
in order
enough.
to run it.
I mean,
Okay,
here's the thing: you wouldn't need to learn the system. It's 5e.
yeah, it's DD5e, but
The
with the
system is literally just 5e with reflavoring and like new enemies.
yeah,
Oh shit! I will actually take a look into it then.
please, it is so great,
Yeah,
and I want to play
mechanically
it.
speaking, it is just 5e with reflavored text. Everything has been reflavored, but it is just 5e.
Like
I will have to find a time that would fit in terms of like DMing it and everything, but aside from that, I'd love to.
I'd have to
mm,
find time to play it then, but we'll figure that out eventually.
It's that bridge when we get there.
As we're nearing on 3 hours of
God,
uh, talking on this tabletop game podcast, is there any final things you want to tell the viewers, Creme?
If you haven't played tabletop games, whether that be RPGs or certain fun board games like Betrayal on the House of the Hill, or just fun card games like Cards Against Humanity,
Uno.
please play Uno. Jesus, find some people that you get along with and have a good time because that's what it's all about. It's about having a good time. And you know
yeah,
what? If there's a hobby shop near you, just go in there and look around. There's so much there. And there's so many types of games we didn't bring up. Like I don't personally play them, but war games, like tabletop war games like Warhammer are very popular as well.
Oh, I
That
love
if you
Warhammer.
go to a like hobby game shop, you will find something you will enjoy. I guarantee you there is something that will pique your interest.
yeah. And if tabletop stuff like D&D isn't like your thing, then that's also perfectly fine. You know, everyone's different. Everyone has their own interests, but never be afraid to pursue what interests you, despite any kind of like stigmatism or any kind of like uh just any judgment really. At the end of the day, it's your life and it you choose how you want to live it.
Beautiful.
I mean,
Samara?
one of the most
Oh,
popular ones nowadays, D&D. Sorry,
no, you good.
I just wanted to bring this up. D&D used to be considered that if you played it, you worshipped the devil. Not
not as
not
much anymore.
really. They
There's
used
still
to
some
mean
people.
it back then.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was a point where like official school D&D clubs had a like cop to watch over them in certain
It's
schools.
seen like an occult club.
Because yeah, it was literally seen as such an occult activity that there had to be someone there to certify they were not doing occult activity.
Oh. Uh,
That one moment when the cop is like, "Hey, can I join as a paladin?"
I think there was.
Jim
I
Hopper.
think I did see a story of where they convinced the guy to join them. But yeah, Samarra, your turn.
The best advice I can give you guys: if you're gonna play Cards Against Humanity or any game like that, find a group of people you don't like. That is okay. Also, keep creating and don't be afraid to make new things and try new things. And even if it's carbon pink and there's certain things that just stick out.
I don't know the context for what is being stated.
I will tell you later.
We
we can talk about it after this.
Don't
I'm
be afraid.
so unsure of what is happening.
Okay, so keep going, Samara.
I'll need context after we cut the stream.
Yeah, I will give you that
you will
context.
receive it.
There
Samara,
we go.
Is that it?
continue.
Oh shit.
She's gone. She
And then
lost
there's
died.
Samara. She died.
Was it that bad?
The ghost
Yes.
of Carbon Pink got her.
Oh no.
No, my computer's gonna.
You're what now? Excuse me,
I know
ma'am.
exactly where you're going with that.
You're what now?
We both know that her computer is more of an over glorified tablet.
Her computer is a toaster with a screen.
It's
It's good enough to run Doom.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
It's working.
Finally.
It's working.
alive.
So, anything else you wanted to add there, Samara?
Yeah, kids don't Google carbon pink. Don't do it. Do
Honestly, kids, get the hell off the internet. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be here.
away from the internet. It's bad
What are you
for you
talking
to
about?
run.
I was here when I was your age, but you shouldn't be.
I was here when I was your age, and I deeply regret it. And I can't take
You know,
it back.
no,
because
no,
of
we don't have any kids watching our stuff. Totally not.
Kids, if you're watching this, I'm in your walls. Tell your
Kids,
parents.
if you're
Kids, if you're
watching
watching this, you're not a kid. You're an adult. There
Kids,
are no
if
kids
you're
watching
watching
this.
this, I'll see you in your
watch
nightmares.
If
Devil
you're
May
watching
Cry
this,
Baby.
crack open your walls and try and find me, and then tell
All
your
right.
parents you couldn't and that you're scared.
Watch Berserker and Devil May Cry Baby at the same time.
Good God.
Berserk, not Berserker.
Berserker.
Okay,
And
so
remember,
Samara
kids,
just
I
keeps
may be gone,
leaving and
but
joining.
you'll see me in your nightmares.
I'm in your mind, kids.
Okay, so I think her thing is
It's-
breaking. I'm gonna
To
tell her to
quote
just
Old Man
type and
McGucket, you
I'll.
can run, but I'll still be in your nightmares.
She's here. She's
You
back.
can run, but I'll still be in your nightmares.
Okay. Jesus, anything you wanted to tell everyone before this
Um,
delves into even further chaos?
hmm. Can't think of anything on the
He
spot.
wants to make the Pepsi Man noise.
That sounds fair.
Pepsi Man.
So I'm gonna go ahead and end this off with advice to anyone who wants to be a DM. If you're thinking about being a DM and you don't know if you can do it or not, there is only one way to find out, and that is to just do it. There is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. Just figure it out along the way, figure it out as you go, and just do it. If your first session is absolute ass, that's still progress.
Yeah.
And with that, everyone, Everyone, Crème, Jesus, Samarra, Javi, please say goodbye to the followers. Say the goodbye to the audience.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you Starside.
And apparently I'm still
chat.
Samarra, even though everybody I give up my name. Alright, goodbye. I'm gonna go sink myself into a hole now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hello, chat. I'll see you when you fall asleep.
Bye.
See you in your nightmare.
What the frick?